Nasa bituon sa langit, mikislap mitanag sa kangit-ngit, katamis taliwala sa kapait, mitunaw sa tik-ang kasing-kasing, nanumpada kung kuyog tang tuhan, gugmang gamhanan makahimo sa tanan, misata kung kitang duha kauban, malatas na to ang layong kadagatahan, mapatag ang habog na kabukiran, mausabang lang sa kalibutan, hangtod kano sa matahon, kining akong dughan. Ang akong kamot imong gihawiran, dungan natong bag-o ng kalibutan, punon sa kahoy ang napuong lasan, pabulakon ang nalayang tanaman, misatan kung kitang duha kauban, malakas na to ang layong kadagatahan, mapatag ang hapong na kabukiran, mausabang lang sa kalibutan, hangtod kano sa matahon, kining akong dughan. Mibanos ang katugnaw di maatos, at lamisalok sa imong paglakaw, magulat ba ang tod sa hangtod, sa kahangturan, misata kung kitang duha kauban, malakas na to ang layong kadagatahan, mapatag ang habog nga kabukiran, mausapang lang sa kalibutan, hangtod kano sa matahon, kining akong dughan.
They say looks can be deceiving. At first glance, I thought you were not much to look at. All icing, no cake, all steam, not much brew. But the night air sings of fulfilling ancient dreams. The moon whispers of tenderness for the smallest of them, for the unheard, the unseen. And as the sun breaks through our heroes' memories, your blinding smile hits my heart, like the warrior's blade, like 𝗤𝗏𝗄𝗆's spear. But the far seas beckon you. The memories on these walls try to soothe the pain of parting. I seek for your warmth, but only these sheets comfort me. My tears are salt water flowing to bridge the seas and islands that divide us. The stars listen to my sighs as I look for you in the skies. And now you're here. Our love blazes like the fire of our heroes' revolution. Our hearts entwined is such sweet victory, incomparable, like the journey of our people, like the richness of our culture.
Malipayong pagsaulog sa buwan sa kasaysayan ug buwan sa mga pinulungan. 𝗬𝗲 𝗤𝗂𝗏 in partnership with the 𝗫𝗏𝗏 Foundation Incorporated, the Central Visayas Association of Museums, Art Cebu, the Andy Heritage Center, and so on 2020 present to you another exciting event this afternoon, Babaye sa Balak, the women in Visayan poetry from precolonial to modern times. Maayong hapon sa tanan. Daghang salamat for being with us once again after last week's another exciting event. There are not much on-site audience in the past, but now that event last week, Gigawsan with our featured poet Adonis Dorado now has more than 5,000 views on Facebook. So they were actually, I think the audience was actually scared to come here or to join that event because of the title, Poetic Inspiration, Perspiration, and Climax. But after that event, so there are now so many viewers of that poetry event, and now it already has more than 5,000 views. Daghang salamat to all of those who are really supporting Visayan arts, culture, heritage, and history. So, of course, thank you very much to those online also. Right now, we have Ferdinand Pagao, 𝗫𝗏𝗏 from the Department of Education, Taguig City and Pateros. Daghang salamat for joining us once again and also always being with us in our heritage, history, and cultural events here at 𝗬𝗲 Cebu Heritage Hotel. We also thank a history graduate of the University of San Carlos, Raul Gabriel Buzon, now watching from their store at BLP Commercial and watching online. And then Raul would be here in the middle of this event. So he would be here on site maybe later. Daghang salamat, Raul, and daghang salamat to those also here on site. Do we have their names? Nag-register mo? Yes, we thank the women in literary arts of Cebu for the former presidents are here, some different years and generation. Daghang salamat. So we in our discussion last week, when Ferdinand Paga of DepEd Taguig City and Pateros was asking about literary organizations of the genius literary artists, what are the organizations in the Visayas and Mindanao of the genius literary artists in the Visayas, and Adonis mentioned two organizations, Bathalad, and of course Bathalad is celebrating its anniversary this month. Is it today? It's are you also members of the Bathalad? Yes. You- so Bathalad is also celebrating its anniversary this month. And also, Adonis Dorado mentioned that another very notable organization of literary artists is the Women in Literary Arts of Cebu, because it is the only one, there is the only organization of women literary artists in the whole Philippines. And Malou, former vice president of Villa, was telling me, and I heard in the whole of Asia. So we have to confirm, but then in the whole Philippines, so we have in Cebu the only organization of women literary artists, and we are so honored and proud that the presidents are here today in the different periods of history. So daghang salamat to the Tawila, and also we also congratulate the Bathalad for its anniversary this month, or I think it's today. I maybe it's today. So we also celebrate this month the National History Month. So we are celebrating the month of history, but we always say that at Palmgrass we celebrate history every day, 365 days in a year, and 24/7. So we don't just celebrate history in August, because we celebrate history every day and every hour. And a testament of that is our rooms named in honor of our heroes. And historian Michael Colonnane said when he came here, Palmgrass is a monument. So it's a monument of our heroes, of our past, of our culture, and our heritage. So daghang salamat for to Dr. Michael Lenin for saying that about Palmgrass. And also, of course, we celebrate this month our national and local indigenous languages. Buwan ng Wikang Pambansa. So we celebrate all our languages. And there have been so many posts about this, right? About the Visayan languages and the languages in the different parts of the Philippines that are not supposed to be called dialects, but are languages. So what's the difference between a language? So thank you to DYRC anchor Paul Lido for being here, and giving an applause for in when we said that our languages should be called languages and not dialects. So and we also celebrate this month the National Heroes Day. So that would be at the last part of this month. And also we celebrated also the International Day of the World's Indigenous Peoples. So as we said, we have our we give we celebrate the Day of the Indigenous Peoples, not just by having an event, but by honoring and respecting the rights of the indigenous peoples. And at Palmgrass, when we discussed, for example, our history, our heritage, we always refer to the to the way of life right now of the indigenous peoples, because our historians would say that if you want to know what was the way of life of pre-colonial Visayas or pre-colonial Cebu or pre-colonial Philippines, we should just take a look at the way of life right now of the indigenous peoples, because they are still practicing our pre-colonial practices. So we would like you to know we also thank that another author, a religious brother from the Redemptorist, Brother 𝗂𝗏 is here. And we are so happy that one of his books, Mga Lumadnong Sigulanon nga Mahinuklugon. So, yes, Mga Lumadnong Sigulano nga Mahinuk. I haven't read this yet, but I know it's about the indigenous peoples. I've seen the table of contents, and we are so happy that we have our religious brother, Brother 𝗂𝗏 of the Redemptorist, have this book. He has written a book on our indigenous peoples. So daghang salamat also to Brother Carl for being with us physically today at our event. So aside from, I think there are many more celebrations. I think there are so many, like there is a National Lazy Day, but we have not included that this afternoon. And then so we thank our partners, the 𝗃𝗿𝗏𝗃 Foundation Incorporated, and it is the foundation of Congress de Cebu Heritage Hotel to also for heritage and history. We have also, this is now showing, this event is now showing at the Facebook page of the Central Visayas Association of Museums, and also an online art organization, Art Cebu. So this is now also showing at Art Cebu, and also at the Diandi Heritage Center page. And we thank also our partner, the SOAN 2020. We thank the students of Ateneo de Cebu for being here. We have the flag tour guides. Do you have the list of those on site? Or kanang may bawaan na nina ako kay mga suki na ni the flag tour guides and also freelance tour guide. Thank you for being here. So I still don't know the others. So we have also those who registered online, and they said that they come from these places and these organizations. We have someone who registered from Los Baños, Laguna. We have also from San Mateo, Rizal. So we have, of course, the teachers and of Taguig City and Pateros, teachers and supervisors of DepEd Taguig City and Pateros. Daghang salamat for joining us. We also have from the Cebu Technological University, Society of Unified Literati. So, and we have someone from the St. Louis College, Cebu, from the Department of Education in the Visayas, not sure what part in the Visayas, and also from the University of San Carlos. We have from the University of the Philippines, Cebu. Of course, one of our former presidents of Villa is an instructor of literature at UP Cebu. We also have from Cebu City, Mandaue City, Lapu-Lapu City, from Leyte. We have someone from Hagna Bohol, Walay Organization. We have from Consolacion Cebu. We also have from Davao City, Reliance Transcriptions and Infotech Corporation. And we also have someone from Cagayan de Oro City, and we have from Dali City, USA. And of course, we have from Europe, one of our resource persons this afternoon, our panelist, is also based in France. And we have also audience from the different parts of Europe. So daghang salamat for joining us. I'm sure you will have an exciting afternoon today as we trace our history and as we trace the history of our literature, the journey of Visayan literature or poetry, specifically poetry from the different periods, from pre-colonial period, Spanish period, American period, and contemporary period. So we also will have exciting discussions with our panelists, our resource persons. We have two resource persons, one based in Cebu now with us on site, and one is now based in France, Paris, France, Paris, 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 France. And also we will have poetry reading. We will have maybe also, of course, when our panelists are also poets, maybe they can also give excerpts of their poems if they want. And also we have from the women in literary arts of Cebu, they will also give their reactions, and they will also they will also read an excerpt or one. If it's short, if it's long, an excerpt of their poem. But if it's short, so they would read samples of their poem. We would hear the Babaye sa Balak in their poetry. So, and also another exciting highlight in today's event is the announcement of winners of the Central Visayas Hybrid Speech Contest. So because we celebrated last July 27, the birthday of our hero, General Leon Quilat. And because we want the young people to express their love of what our heroes did. So we had them. We are so happy that our young people in Cebu, supposedly it was a Central Visayas speech, hybrid speech contest, but only Cebuanos joined. So we had our contestants in July, on July 29. So they gave their speeches on the theme, how how does the magic, how does Leon Quilat's magic of heroism live in today's modern heroes? Redundant to, sige lang. Poetic license na lang. In today's modern day heroes. So they gave very passionate speeches, and we're so happy that they studied about Leon Quilat, our local hero, and they were able to give very good speeches and passionate speeches about our hero Leon Quilat. So we had our contestants. So we had we would mention to you the contestants. We had from the Cebu City National Science High School, grade 12, contestant number 1 was 𝗂𝗵𝗄𝗆 with her speech entitled Heroism Transcending. And then also our contestant number 2 was from Cebu City National Science High School, also grade 12, 𝗳𝗏𝗏𝗄𝗆 with his speech 𝗪𝗏𝗪𝗪, unveiling the modern day Leon Quilat. Our contestant number 3 is here right now. So from Sacred Heart School, Ateneo de Cebu, grade 12, Gabriel Samson with his speech, Hereditary Heroics, a Legacy Worth Living. And we have contestant number 4 from the University of San Jose Recoletos, grade 12, Tricia Rodrigo with her speech, The Charm of Our Culture. And contestant number 5 is from Toledo City, Kyle Amber Altamarino from Pau Excelencia Global Academy Foundation with her speech, Leon Quilat. And also contestant number 6 was from the Don Bosco Technical College, Cebu, grade 12, Zion de Los Angeles. And the title of his speech is, wala diri. Asa diri? Nasa to dito. Asa to? Asa to yung title sa speech? Wala na ako mabasa. Si The Hidden Magic. Oh, so wala sa akong script. So, and the last but not the least is from, and she was our online, our virtual contestant from the City of Bogo Science and Arts Academy, Cayenne Shane Pelayo, grade 10, The Magic of Leon Quilat. And we thank these students for really having the courage of Leon Quilat and giving a speech regarding their love and their also their appreciation of the modern day heroes, how they connected history with the present. And we thank our partner in this endeavor, this activity, the Department of Education, Region 7, with our with the regional director, Sal Jimenez. We thank the DepEd 7 for coordinating and coordinating with PAMGRAS, the Cebu Heritage Hotel, and partnering with PAMGRAS in encouraging the students, the learners in Central Visayas to join this contest. And we will have another contest in November in celebration of the birthday of General Arcadio Maxilum. It will be an on-the-spot hybrid essay writing contest. We have experienced that during the pandemic, that they can write the speech even online. If they're online, if they're not here, they can still write. They need to show their camera that they are they are there is no coach during their while they wrote their their essays. So, so we would be announcing this after actually our conversations and our discussion and our poetry reading. So sit back and relax to those who are so excited already to know the winners. So we will also announce the winner, the winners of the ones chosen by the judges, and also the one chosen by the netizens. So there would be a Netizens Choice Award aside from the unang ganti, ikaduhang ganti, ug ikatulong ganti. So padulong na kita, mag-discuss na kita sa Babaye sa Balak, but we would remind you of we invite you again to our event on September 9. So in September, we would be having an event tracing the lost waterways of Spanish time Cebu. And this is Naughan. Naughan ba? Did the rivers dry up? So, so we will have Dr. John Peterson, an archaeologist. We will have architect Joseph Michael Yumi Espina, and we will have another panelist from the embassy of Germany. Is it from the German embassy? Yes, from the, and then we will have also the UP, a department in UP to join us in this event to give reactions. And we will have on September 22, it is the anniversary of our 𝗺𝗵𝗃𝗃𝗃, our roof deck bar named in honor of warrior Dagami who led the revolt against the Spaniards in 1565 to 1567. And on this day, we will have a discussion and conversations on pre-colonial warfare in the Visayas and also of the indigenous peoples in Mindanao. We will have Dr. Vicente Villan on site from the University of the Philippines, Diliman, Department of History, and he will be here on site on that day. And you will have 𝗬𝗎's Salon. He is an anthropology graduate and he has immersed in the indigenous peoples of Bukidnon. And he is now with the Cagayan de Oro City Museum and Cultural and Historical Affairs of Cagayan de Oro. So watch out for that. And of course, another exciting activity on this day is, of course, the celebration of Hardin Dagami Roof Deck Bar with the Search for Warrior Dagami 2023. Yes, who would be the next Warrior Dagami? Of course, this is not just a beauty contest. They would be answering questions about heroism. They would show their talent and, of course, their bravery. And, of course, dili pwede nga abs and beauty lang. Not only brawn and abs, but also brains and bravery and heroism. So who would be the next warrior Dagami? So we started this actually with the Ginoong Pilipinas Cebu. So we had there was a time in 2019 where there was really the organizers coordinated with Palmgrass. If you want to have, there was a Leon Kilat Awards and the Gami Awards of the Ginoong Pilipinas Cebu in 2019, and we made them talk about heroism and talk about where the Vestidora of Leon Kilat and where the Bahag of Warrior Dagami. So this is very exciting. Lisod kaayo. The last time we had Dr. Jobers Bersales, we had Masi Cabañez of our heritage community, and they had those men in Bahag with tattoos, only Bahag, no brief. And then Dr. Jobers was saying, Kalisod mag-judge, ani. Kalisod mag-judge. So of course, you should wear our heritage, wear our history. So karon, so thank you very much to those who are daghan na ta atong audience online. So we have Marivic, we have BB Lewitzki, Alp Asa, Ferdy says, History Heritage Gallery and Culinary Galore at Palmgrass, the Cebu Heritage Hotel. Daghang salamat, Ferdy. We have also Raisa saying, Buol, maayong hapon sa tanan. Alexis May saying, good afternoon. So please tell us from where you are, Alexis May and Raisa. And also Marivic Almo from SDO Taguig City and Pateros. Lian Ramdel from Maricho Tinga High School of Taguig City, and Rod Del Rosario watching from Maria Asuncion Tinga High School from Taguig City and Pateros. And we have John Minaro who is saying, unta manahigugma atong kaugalingong pinilungan tungod daghang kabait-nan dili tarong pagkabinisaya tungod sagol tagaw ilang sinultian uwa ginahigugma ang pinulungan binisaya nagkabugo no kun misamot og dam sukad adunay social media. So thank you for your comment, John Minaro. So he is saying, for those, so we have actually, of course, we have audience from the different parts of the country and the world. So John is saying, we should love our own language, our atong kaugalingong pinulungan. We should love our own language, and he thinks that social media has made us dumber. But they made us dumb. But then there is also a use for social media because of social media we are able to disseminate and you're able to watch this online. So there are negative, there are two sides of a coin. We just need to look at how to have to benefit to get the most benefit out of technology. So we have Rodora Reyes from Cebu City and Alexis May Reladera from Cebu City. So we would also like to inform you that we would be entertaining your questions as we go along for those online because our format is like a question and answer because we would like to also to read your questions and comments. If we would do it later, it would be buried in the so many questions if there are many comments and questions. For those on site, the open forum would be at the last part. Sorry, but then you can still also type your questions and comments as we go along. So we would now introduce our resource persons. Dugay kayo, no? So it is so amazing. This our resource person. We would first introduce our resource person on site. So I was so amazed when I googled her and I saw that the Google said that she is an author of more than 50 books. And I asked her when she arrived, no, don't say that. It's not true. But then maybe she has not counted her books, the books that she is. But Google was correct in saying she is a prolific writer. She has, of course, she has written so many books and on heritage, history, and culture. Um, she is an active member and a former president of the Women in Literary Arts of Cebu, and she writes poetry both in English and Cebuano. In 2012, she was honored at the 79th NRCP Awards, National Research Council of the Philippines. So she was awarded for her contributions to cultural research of literature, folklore, linguistics, and history of the Philippines. And she was formerly a director of the Cebuano Studies Center of the University of the Philippines. The University of San Carlos, sorry. So University of San Carlos in the Philippines. Si Google, magud ni. Nagibutang USC Philippines. Wala na ako nabasa ang San Carlos. So, and of course, she is a commissioner of the Cebu City Cultural and Historical Affairs Commission. And I would like to, later I would show you her many books that is available at PAMGRAS, the Cebu Heritage Hotel. I will show you later. So it is our pleasure since she is with us for the second time. So she is with us. She was our resource person also in our conversations about Leon Kilat. And please help me welcome. It should be in all caps kono, the Dr. Erlinda Quintanar Alburo.
Hello. Madungo.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So,
Greet,
unsaon man?
greet your fans.
Maayong hapon kaninyong tanan. Kalipay ko ang pag-imbitar kanako sa kaduha nga kuan higayon sa PAMGRAS kay maayo man ginang makaambita sa unsay atong mga hibaw-an sa mga bata ba nga kay hapit naman ta retire na gyud pero hapit na ta mo fade ba sa kuan sa scene. So maayo ginang naay mo padayon. Okay?
Daghang salamat.
Ah,
So we would ask you the questions later. We would still introduce our second panelist.
okay.
So, and also I'm so happy with Dr. Edinda because she would send me, actually she would send me articles about the heroes, her research about the heroes of Cebu, like Luis Flores, uh, Leon Kilat, all Arcadio Maxilum. She would send me because and I would thank her because I would learn more and I have more things to say during our heritage and history events. So of course there is this book that you have that needs to be, it's out of print. You have so many books that are already out of print that it needs to be read by the young generations. So daghang salamat to Dr. Erlinda. And we have also with us, you also have with us our resource person, our panelist. Law nawala ako kuan script sa yes. So we also have with us our resource person who is um oh yeah, nanay day. So she hails from Iloilo City and she has moved to Cebu to study literature at the University of San Carlos. She has taught in the St. Teresa's College and University of the Philippines in Cebu, and she is a member of the Women in Literary Arts of Cebu, and she was the former president of this other prestigious Visayan literary organization, Bathalad. So there, Adonis mentioned two prestigious literary organizations in Cebu, and that's Wila and Bathalad, and she is a former president of Bathalad. And during her time when she was the president of Bathalad, the group has published several books of local writers, and she has 3 books to date. So she has Pansit Poetry. So this book, Pansit Poetry, Ti, uh, Tingog Nanay, and Isla. And all, this is, Pansit Poetry is available at our Basahanan at Pamgras, the Cebu Heritage Hotel. And Tingog Nanay and Isla will also be available at our bookshop. And she currently lives in France, in Paris, with her family. So we are so happy that she has accepted our invitation, even with the distance, and of course, love of our history and our literature knows no distance. So we are so excited, and it is our pleasure to have with us this afternoon, Carla Kim Singh.
Maayong hapon, Cebu. Maayong hapon, Palmgrass Hotel. Kay Ma'am Linda, sa mga former president o president sa Wila nga naadiha karon sa audience, maayong hapon. And kay Ma'am Agrapina, maayong hapon. Salamat, Palmgrass, sa pag-imbitar nako sa kaninga event. Isa na nako diri sa layo. Daghang salamat.
Daghang salamat, Carla. So we would be having questions also. So Carla would actually be giving us, will be sharing with us her case study about a Cebuana poet, Jonah Bering. So she would be sharing with us her study that she made her paper. So she would be discussing the Jonah Branzuela Bering. So she made this paper when she was a student of Dr. Hope Yu. Dr. Hope 𝗂𝗶 also an officer of the Women in Literary Arts of Cebu. Grabe gamanan kay ni Wila, no? so 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 we invite the young writers to, pero wag is like initiation. Do they need to go through the young women writers of Cebu, the women writers now, the teenagers and the Gen Z and the Gen X, Gen Z, Gen Y, Gen Z na W o sa bara o sa lower than the Gen Z. So you go through initiation mag-initiation ang kuan kung makapasar ba mo sa sa WILA. You go through workshops for you to join the WILA. So now we would so before that, so gamay na lang, shout out to all Lit 4 students of UP Cebu. So from Raisa Buol. So these are students of Hannah Gabales, former president of Villa. Donna Torion says, good afternoon from 𝗞𝗵𝗺 National High School, SDO Taguig City. So we need to speak in English so that they would understand how they can't understand Bisaya yet. They are still learning. so now we would like to give this first question. So this is a very important and very our questions actually for Dr. Erlinda. It spans the whole period of whole history of the Philippines, from pre-colonial to Spanish to American period to contemporary Philippines. But the contemporary poetry would be handled by Carla. So she would discuss this in maybe 5 minutes each per question. So we would have a crash course on Visayan history and Visayan literature and poetry. So now we would like to ask Dr. Erlinda regarding the forms of poetry in pre-colonial Visayas.
I have a PowerPoint. It will
Yes.
cover everything.
Yes.
But I will stop at the pre-war period.
So we will start
So
first
pre-colonial
discuss pre-colonial
until,
only. We first pre-colonial only, then you would maybe there is a question or interaction also.
Yeah. I thought because the 4 questions that you sent me were all, one after the other. So ako na lang ibutang. I put it
Yes,
here.
but we would have a break
Sure.
every question. So so we have this question regarding the pre-colonial. Pwede ni ma-adjust? I-share ang kuan, share ang na-share na ang yes. I-slideshow, slideshow ko.
Nana.
I-slide need na siya i-slideshow.
So
Yes. So we have this slides from slideshow na. Sige.
wala lagi.
Wala mas slideshow. I-click ang slideshow. So we have these questions also for Dr. Erlinda, and she said that she her discussion is mostly about okay na slideshow na Jet.
Pwede li mainit.
Ha? Dili mo sagot?
Pero dili siya kuan like
So I think
click na ko, only the line that I'm clicking should appear.
Di mo sagot. Di mo sagot si StreamYard or sa na problem. So we were not able to rehearse the we were not able to rehearse technically the showing of the slideshow of the PowerPoint. Usually we have, our team would
Big hapon. It's okay.
Sige na lang.
So
yes.
Yeah, I'll discuss point by point, but on the screen you have the whole slideshow and the whole slide. I was supposed to discuss parts of the slide one by one, but anyway. So this is entitled Babaye sa Balak. But of course, the phrase Babaye sa Balak would really refer to 2 things, no? Woman in poetry, no? Meaning the subject of poetry, the poem about women, but also women who write poetry. So these are notes on the history of women and poetry poetry by women. So the first slide here will give us an idea of the genres and forms of poetry in pre-colonial Visayas. So the sources will give us this, like Alcina, for example, generalizes these are the forms in the whole Visayas. But I'd like to say that I'm more interested only in Cebuano, no? So from Spanish sources, like the Augustinian missionaries, there were forms of oral poetry, but the generic term is Balak. Of course, before the Spanish came, walang publishing, no? So we only relied on oral poetry, which we call orature. And the term Balak is a generic term which will cover all forms of poetry. We include here, for example, songs, which are also considered poetry. These forms include the kandu or epic. Sometimes it's called siday in Waray. The debate forms like the duplo, where you have a group of men and women. The balitaw, only two, one boy or one woman and one man. This balitaw is usually, it not really just usually, but always combines song and dance. So, an important thing here is that it was extemporaneous. Okay? Hala, unsa man na? Balik. You also have, what happened? Anyway, you're listening, no? You have harito or incantation to the gods. You have dandansoy or drinking song. You have saloma, songs at sea, the 𝗖𝗗𝗄𝗏 or the lullaby. There are also occupational songs which have no term. And the short verses called nomic verses, there are two forms, sanglitanan, the proverb, and tigmo or the riddle. Good, no?
Wala na to rehearse.
It's okay. So, what about pre-colonial women? The Spanish chroniclers or missionaries like Luarca, Chirino, and Alcina give descriptions of pre-colonial women as being on equal status with the men. But aside from this, they would turn to the extant indigenous oral traditions, especially the epics, with female heroines as protagonists, for evidence that gender egalitarianism characterized indigenous Philippine societies. For example, in the Visayas, you have a well-known creation myth where both the first man and the first woman came out from the split bamboo as indicative of such egalitarianism. What about the representations of pre-colonial women in folk narratives? These are all in oral tradition because we didn't have publications then. Long before the Spaniards came, we had stories of the benevolent lender and forest guardian who lived in caves. But when the Spanish came, they were given the names Maria Makiling in Luzon, Maria Cacao in Cebu. You also have the woman warrior. In Luzon, this is represented by Princess Orduha in Pangasinan. But in Cebu, we have a very little known figure. Her name was Hinuon. Hinuon was a prophetess who married the captain of a band of Spanish pirates. And the couple ruled over the pirate band and directed successful raids. This was all before the Spaniards came. So how were the women portrayed in pre-Hispanic Visayan poems? Again, we only have the Spanish missionaries' accounts about the women. We can only deduce how the women were directly portrayed in pre-colonial times from the verses in the accounts of the Spanish missionaries. Should have had, no, but there were probably no writers, no, native writers. They only used our writing to list deaths. We learn indirectly not from the poetry, but from the missionaries' description about the general status of women. I can cite only one work, the epic of Datong Sumanga and Bubong Humasanon, where the noble woman Bubong Humasanon can demand of her suitors almost impossible deeds like conquer a tribe or conduct a raid. The woman here in the epic is a binukot, no? That means sheltered one, blanketed. She rarely went out of the house. However, this epic can only show us the elevated status of noble women, not of ordinary women. The ordinary women characters in the epic, the mga maids like that, they were not given space at all. We come to the kandu or the epic. The epic, which is the epic of Datong Sumanga and Bubong Humasanon, tells about the periodic raids called pangayaw that the tribes used to conduct on each other. In that particular epic, the si Datong, the one who courted the princess, no, would come and say, "What do you want me to do?" And said, "You go to this island and raid and come back with 200 slaves." And this happened, you know, time and time again. They even went as far as China, and this is corroborated by Chinese chronicles, no, which tell of Visayan pirates raiding the Chinese coast. From this epic, the Dato speaks of the Binukot, Bubong Humasanon, recorded in the book of by Scott called Barangay. Quote, "You raid with your eyes and capture many, and with only a glance, you take more prisoners than raiders do with their pangayaw." Oh, how about there are also examples of verses by precolonial Babaylan or the native priestess. Two examples, but one I cannot find because my I could not access it from my hard drive. No, I don't know what happened. Anyway, the first is a prophecy by 𝗂𝗏𝗂, a Boholana who predicted the coming of foreigners. These foreigners would be the Spaniards and the fall of their kingdom. The second is a harito or invocation to the gods. It's there. Good. So here is a harito. Kining among mga lanhan inyong tang panalanginan, aron sa kaayuhan sa akong mga ginsakpan. Maluoy, dili ninyo kuhaan kining akong ginsakpan. Labing maayo nga inyong dungagan sa maniining kadaghanan. Of course, we know that power in pre-colonial times did not reside in money or property, but in the number of followers that you have power over. So this is the translation by Jun Dumdum. These are oil pots, lana ba oil? These are oil pots, may you bless for the good of my members. Pity, do not reduce these my members. Better if you will add like these multitudes. So it's very short. Okay, next. How did Visayan poetry evolve in the Spanish period? So what happened to poetry?
Dr.
Kana,
Yeah.
sige.
Yeah, so
Second
before
na
we
na, no?
discuss the Spanish period, thank you very much for the discussion about pre-colonial poetry, the genre. So we have, so take note, we will have an example joke. Actually, we will have trivia quiz with exciting prizes at the end of this event. So Dr. Linda mentioned about ambahan, kando.
I did not mention ambahan. Kando.
Kando ra. Wala day ka. Wala ang ambahan. So Kando, so is an epic with the Bubong Humasanon characters and Dato. In other pronunciation, they would say Dato Sumangga. So
One G Raman.
si Bubong Humasanon is the very beautiful princess from Leyte and
From Bohol.
I mean, si Dato Sumangga ang taga Leyte. And so, si Dato Sumangga is a Dato from Leyte, and Bubong Himasana is a very beautiful princess from Bohol, who was courted by Dato Sumangga, and she asked him so many things like buyo leaf, and also bunga and slaves from China. Bunga, buyo from the different parts like in Siquijor, in Dapitan, in Sulu. She asked so many things.
Yeah, the impossible thing there was she asked for a piece of the sky.
Yes, she wanted Dato Sumangat to get her the same things that she got her from earth, from heavens. So that's why I think Dato Sumanga did something that she surrendered.
He pulled
the hair.
He pulled her wig. He pulled her wig.
He pulled her hair.
Oh. So that's something like rape.
Oh, because at that time the hair is very important. You cannot let someone touch your hair. So, so that's how they portrayed this the woman. So of course also Dr. Erlinda also mentioned about the 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 babaylanes. So we're very powerful at that time. So the warriors, the dato cannot go into a war without rituals done. You cannot eat pork or you cannot eat without the ritual done by women. So of course we also have the ritual part. So we had this discussion about Surat, the ancient writing in the Visayas with Dr. Rolando Borinaga. And the chants of the women, the women or the asog, the religious leaders were only the women and the gays. So they were written on the pots. and it's poetry because it has metaphor. So we would say that the Babaylanos also have wrote poetry in their prayer. So there is already a question about this before we go to the next question. So the question is from 𝗫𝗏𝗏𝗂𝗃, were the pre-colonial poetry written in Baybayin form?
They were not written at all. They were oral.
So
I think I mentioned that the writing was only used for very practical things like listing of debts, because
yes,
they were so confident of their skills in poetry that they could just extemporaneously recite.
yes. So they're very good in poetry that they could recite. So Dr. Elinda said it's balitaw. And Father Francisco Alsina, in one of the translations of his book, mentioned they were so good in extemporaneous poetry. For example, bikal. That's the term used by Father Alsina. Bikal is a witty exchange of very naughty and very naughty words between a man and a woman. They would actually ridicule each other through poetry. It's impromptu, and they would mention the very negative things of their opponent, but then after that they would forget about it. It's just for fun, and there would be so much laughter during these gatherings with those impromptu poetry between a man and a woman. And he mentioned also another form of poetry. It is balitaw for Dr. Erlinda, for the Augustinians maybe, but for Father Francisco Alsina is a Jesuit missionary, and he termed it as Balak, between a poetry between a man and a woman about love. And he would say it's also impromptu, it's metaphorical, and he could not understand the metaphors. And then it's all about love, and it's everything evil. So maybe those are sexual innuendos or things like that, because the missionary was saying all they could talk about is about not good things but evil. So, and accompanied by music, the musical instruments. So also we discussed that in our we had our tracing of the pre-colonial string instruments in previous discussion. So one of the resource persons, one of the resource persons quoted another author, David Irving, who really studied about pre-colonial music. And he mentioned it was music more than language that we were that the natives were colonized. And he mentioned that in the early period of Spanish colonization, it was they really tried to study music, and and he found out that all poetry was sung.
Mm.
All poetry was sung. And because the Visayans, of course, the natives were a musical people, they would only not sing when they are sleeping or when they are sick. So, and then David Irving said that there was already a flourishing written literature at that time. So maybe these were all destroyed because at the early part, so they would try to ask the natives to write the prayers or the songs in church in their own writing at the first part of Spanish colonization. So, of course, according also to Dr. Rolando Burinaga, he would not call the writing as baybayin, but he would call it as Surat Binisaya. And he found out that even those prayers in other parts of the Philippines, of the archipelago, are written in the Binisaya language, even if it's in Luzon.
Mhm.
So his theory, the theory of Dr. Orlando Bernaga, was that the language of prayer in pre-colonial times was Binisaya. When now the language of prayer is Latin in the Christian religion, but in pre-colonial times, because there was a patchard scene in Calatagan and also even in Intramuros, even if it was already in Roman letters, it was still in Binisaya. So anyway, so that's the answer. Those are most we know them as oral tradition because our written,
They were written during the Spanish period.
yes. So this is we have Balanta Coleta from Taguig City and Pateros, si Jus Marahay na hapon, and from Taguig City and Pateros, and Ellen of the flag tour guide says, "Maayong hapon ni Apas ug view watching from Cebu Safari." So she is in the now. Carmen, Carmen. So now, so we would like to show you that we have books here of Dr. Ilinda Alburo at Pamgers the Cebu Heritage Hotel. We would show you later. So now we would continue to ask Dr. Ilinda regarding the poetry in the Spanish period.
Okay. Poetry in the Spanish period was written by the Spanish. No, we didn't have publications by the locals. Changes in the Spanish period society are reflected in the poetry of the period in which woman is subjugated by a macho culture. Of course, the first writers were missionaries. So they were against women, modest, and the pre-colonial women were supposed to be promiscuous, no, and because they didn't really give much value to virginity, since it was important to be fertile. Anyway, the origins of gender inequality was a deliberate project of the Spanish missionaries to disempower the Filipino women who enjoyed power before the Spaniards came, and whom the former saw as their rivals in religion, in the Babaye lands, or the spiritual leaders. So the new spiritual leaders were the priests, of course. That the Filipino woman was alienated from her noble heritage is proven by studies on the folk narratives coming after the epics. So there was a change already. So these narratives show acceptance of the imposed roles and stereotypes of women in the ballads and composers that emerged in the Christian lowlands during the Spanish period. The female martyrs of these ballads are modeled after the pure heroines of the heavily didactic Spanish corridos and lives of saints, which extol obedience and chastity, which effected the internalization of such roles. So they were cowed, no, to accept the roles and stereotypes of women. What about the poetry itself? The Spanish period, as I said, was written by the priest. This was mostly religious. The Virgin Mary became the model of women, chaste, obedient, pious. Since only Spanish had access to publication, the natives continued having their oral or folk poetry, which slowly assumed the new model for women, even in their being martyrs of the home. Slowly, huh? So what is this? Examples from folk poetry of the Spanish period, the proverb and the balita. Unsa man ni? Here is a proverb. Kaysa pagbantay, sayon ang pagbakero sa usa ka gatos nga baka kaysa pagbantay sa usa ka dalaga. I mean, in translation, it is easier to herd 100 cows than to watch over a young woman. In the balitaw, the woman may be given a voice, but she is seldom taken seriously. Here, there's an example on the next slide. She always gives in at the end. Her impossible demands are taken one by the man and ridiculed. So Pinay is the woman and Luis is the man. Kun buot ka Luis mga sawa, ato ay katunggan daruha. Dili ka gani makadaro? Si Inday dili maimo. Luis, kinsa bay imong hindunggan nga pagadaruhon ang katunggan? Dili ba kita higabaan? Kumbinto ka na sa tambasakan. Pinay, kun buot ka Luis mga sawa, ato ay balay namo ayuha. Ayaw sa lugi sa anibong, sa lugi sa pulos dagom. Luis, giyon sa mo paghunahuna, pasalugan man nimo og dagom kun doon na kitay mga bata. Dili ba mahatuyom? So there are, many of these demands, and the man will always say, that's impossible, it's ridiculous, etc. Which reminds us of the demands of bubong, no? Basta nun, which were not considered ridiculous. We come to the American period, where writers already published. Sige.
Yes. So so for the Spanish period, so the balitaw tradition continued. But then it's not written. It's only oral. So it is the Spaniards who wrote poetry. And of course the women are not anymore the star in the in the poetry. So So I remember this sharing also of Dr. The Magellan, the one from Bicol,
Hirona.
Danny Hirona.
Hirona.
He was in one of our events. He shared about a report from the Agustinians in Cebu in 1595 to Spain, and saying that about witchcraft in Cebu, about telling about this witch in Cebu who who was who bewitched the whole family, a whole Spanish family. And he was mentioning that at that time, because the woman like a Spaniard, the Spaniard, and then the man at first gave her promised her, but then she was rejected in the end. So that's why she bewitched the man. And
Ah.
at that time, it was this, because you mentioned about the virginity was not valued, because according to Dr. Danny Hirona, they believe that if the sexual organ, I would speak na lang, not the actual koan, because Facebook would say it's adult content. So uh, the woman's sexual organ would be harmed, like evil would go inside. The natives believe that if no male sexual organ would go inside, they would be kanang the evil would go inside. So, and they were Dr. Rolando Bernaga also mentioned that in Alcina's accounts that the women's sexual organs were opened because they were trained in how to put on the rings and the pins.
Mm.
And then they were trained how to go about with sex life. And of course, Pigafetta said as early as 6 years old, the women's sexual organs were already open. So that would show, and then, but that would, in pre-colonial times, the women were so powerful, and they would demand like bubong humasanan. And even si Dr. 𝗘𝗿𝗂𝗶 said nga, the women would demand to show the design of the ring, of the penis pin or ring, or the penis ring. If they like the design, if the woman would like the design, she would have uh, like physical intimacy with the man. But if she wouldn't like it, she wouldn't have. And of course, the women would describe their men, the good lovers, as 𝗂𝗁𝗂𝗂.
Oh.
So 𝗂𝗁𝗂𝗂, worship. For those, that's why I asked, how could the women, how usa kay description, what could be the description of the bad lovers? Baroto, not 𝗂𝗁𝗂𝗂. So anyway, that's the change in Spanish period, from the 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 empowerment of women in pre-colonial times. So the next question now, so naapa sa reaction sa the reaction from Castro, our three hearts, and natangtayed atong audience, natangtayed sila. So maayong hapon si Laika Ray naka-comment og 3 hearts. So the next question, so that's the time, 300 years of Spanish colonization. So the women the women were demonized, and they cannot have they cannot be priests, of course, the women, and also the gays at that time, they were demonized. So here comes the American period. So what was the change in the American period regarding how can you describe the Visayan poetry in the American period, and the themes that they took up?
First of all, the poetry then was not by women, huh? It was dominated by the males. The poets of the period were often sentimental, but there were also poems of a patriotic nature, because this was the Commonwealth period, and we were preparing for independence. And so our writers impressed on the audience the fact that we were worthy of independence. We had our heroes, and so they had patriotic poems. Also, some poems also show a satirical temper, especially in reaction to cultural change. For example, in 𝗞𝗿𝗄𝗶𝗺𝗁's um, poem, a series of poems on kinabuhi sa Sugbo, he made fun of women and their modern attire, not short and then short hair, and then they would also smoke already, no? The influence of English poetry included not just free verse, but also in a striving for modernness in outlook, which sometimes got transported into the poetry in Cebuano. So it was in the writing in English where this influence was, of course, seen first. But we have an example of Cabras, mga Talanawon, 1935, which still uses traditional rhyme but is inspired by imagism even when it talks of sad things. Mao kini ang mga talanaw masulubon. Usa ka bulak nga sa tanaman siya da ang sayong napukan na. Usa ka langgam kinsang dughan sa idlot nga pana gilagbasan. Usa ka lalaki nga nabuang kaysa babaye gibudhian. Usa ka nagtingang anak o ginahan nga namukpok sa dughan. Okay, so those are sad things, but the treatment is somewhat like it's a catalog, no? So more objective. The pure Cebuano poetry is of course dominated by men. It is ironic that although woman is an obsessive theme in Cebuano literature, this theme and the representation of woman is almost exclusively produced by men. It isn't surprising then that literate women who have read the literature by men internalize such outdated saintly roles as virgin bride and martyr wife and mother. At the center of Cebuano literature, or all vernacular Philippine literature for that matter, where woman is a subject, we find the courtship game. Though the courtship theme in the Balita which we saw is humorous, many poems on this theme written by men usually express unrequited love, which are melancholic. Very seldom do you have poetry that celebrates, woman's love for man. It's always man complaining, why don't you say yes? No, as if it is the woman's obligation to accept. The classic example is by Vicente Ranudo, whose two poems, Hikalintan in 1906 and Pag-usara in 1922, became the models for a generation of male poets, not just for the balanced verse structure, but also for manly sentiments against hard-to-get women. The woman is blamed for his sorrow, and she seems to exist only for his happiness. From Ranudo si Kalimtan. Dili mahimo nga ikaw kalimtan, bisag maangkon ko ang imong kasilag, samtang adunay dapit kining dughan nga pagsimbahan sa imong kaanyag. Nganong maanyag ka o mabihagon, kung daw buot man nga ikaw kalimtan. Ngano nga ang imong katawa langit nun, kung masuko man nga paghahalaran. Buot kong maimo ang tanang mga hiyas. Buot kong maimo ang tanan nga kaputli. Buot kong mahimo kang bahin ning lawas, nga magasaksi ning akong gibati. Silaw sa bulan, tipik sa bituon, nga napabili ning yutang malaay. Kung daw buot ka nga dili simbahon, iuli sa langit ang imong panagway. Okay, so we come to the pre-war poetry by women. What about the women writing? From the index to Bagong Kusog, which I really counted, it was the most popular Cebuano periodical from 1915 to 1941. There were a total of 2,081 poems published. Only 106 were written by women. That would be roughly 5%. The number, of course, may be higher because some of these women used male pen names, but not very many. For example, 𝗬𝗏𝗄𝗏 Quijano used Gerardo Larga Vista in her fiction, but she still used the woman's name in her poetry. I can only cite Quijano, who wrote more fiction than poetry, and the other women in the index had only 1 or 2 poems. We had the Cebuano Study Center produced an anthology of poetry, and in the first volume, from precolonial to 1941, there were 33 pre-war poems. She is the only woman included. There were no other writers, or maybe writers who were considered good. This is she, from 1918 to 2003. the first recipient of the 𝗬𝗂𝗶𝗺𝗏 for regional literature in 1993, also known as Gerardo Larga Vista. So she is better actually known for her fiction than poetry. But there is one poem that we know because of it's included in our book, Kun. This is just, well, I couldn't include all, but there's just one stanza lacking at the end. Kung duna pakako'y mga pako, mulupad ako sa kahanginan. Nanawon ko ang nanagbakho, akong lipayon, akong awitan. Pangitaon ko kinsay nagsubo, iuli kanila ang naingnan. Sama paunta ako sa isda, salumon ko ang dagat maitom. Pangitaon ko ang mga mutya, kuhaon ko ang tanang matahom, dadon ko sila dinhi sa yuta, aron ang tanan magapahiyom. Kung ako maupang tubig, tumpagon ko kanang mga pangpang. Ang kabugnaw ko akong iduhig, ug dugtaon ko ang mga batang. Patagon ko ang bungtod dahilig aron mo banos ang bag-ong kahimtang. And the last stanza here. Kung ako maupakhay adlaw, dili ako patabon sa dagum. Pabaha ko ang akong silaw, ihatag ko ang tanang katahum, aron kamong tanan mga tagbaw, mag-awit, maglipay, magpahiyom. So a typical poem like this by a woman poet during the pre-war period would not write about love, no, but about nature and other things, religion perhaps. So this is the end because the
Yes.
questions for me were only until the American period.
Yes.
But I'm willing to answer questions with
Yes.
modern period.
Yes, it's very so we would see that, di ba, in pre-colonial times, the women, especially for example the binukot, they would be the ones who are taught about the kando or the epics or they're the keepers of history through this. They would learn the poetry. They would learn the history of the society or the community or even their gods, their goddesses, the deities through poetry. So it's not, we don't know who are the authors, if they could be women, or of course the Babaylanes were also
Yeah.
poets. So
Gays.
and the gays and the women were also poets, and the women, especially the binukot, are the ones taught these histories. And then so now the women lost their power to write during the Spanish period. And in the American period, they started writing, but they would disguise themselves as men. So now we are thankful that there is the Women in Literary Arts of Cebu, because to encourage the women writers, especially the younger generations, to wield the power of the pen, which is as mighty as the sword, or mightier than the sword. Mightier than the sword, Ingon Awila. so now we have this saying good afternoon to you, 𝗬𝗏𝗏 Gonzaga from Bacolod City, Negros Oriental, and watching from the National Quincentennial Committee page, and Ferdinand Ascaraga, the one who created a replica of the precolonial Patanaw earrings that I'm wearing right now, and this is available at Pamgra Sinugatan Gifts from Cebu. So Ferdinand Ascaraga says maayong adlaw, and 𝗘𝗍𝗁𝗻 says maayong adlaw with a heart. So thank you very much to Dr. Erlinda. She would still answer one more question in a while regarding. Di pa.
Si Carla na. Oh,
Di pa. Di pa ka malakaw. Napay question for you, like. So we would like you to know that Dr. Erlinda has these books at our Pamgrass Basahanan, Sinugang a Cebuano Trio, and she authored this with Esther Tapia and Corazon Almirino. This has very good, beautiful, witty, funny, some are funny poems, and we have also, she also is an editor of this collection of 𝗘𝗿𝗃 poetry from 1984 to 2012, Brown Child. So she is this still available? Wala, at our basahanan. So this has so many authors because poets, because this is from 1984 to 2012. I guess selected. Pwede ma-show si Dr. Erlinda yung audio. So this is she is the editor of this.
Me and Hope you.
with Dr.
Ah, ah,
Hope
ah, ah.
Pugh, the Brown Child, the best of 𝗙𝗃 poetry and fiction, 1984. And this is still available at Palmgrass Basahanan. Also, she is the author of this is very good book. Whenever someone would ask me, like the one from the Cagayan de Oro would ask me some words, what is the old word for this word? Wait, I will check from Dr. Erlinda's Dictionary of Visayan Arts, because this has the different from the different authors, the resource persons, the references for a word, a word in Visayan arts, in all aspects of Visayan arts, from performance art,
Except culinary.
except culinary, di ay, walay culinary art, but na ay performance, visual art, sculpture, everything. So
Crafts.
uh,
Crafts.
crafts, and also even the
Architecture, boat
architecture, yes.
building, yeah,
So
decorative arts.
unfortunately, this is out of print. Out of print. Yes.
Oh, wala na.
Wala na, sorry. So,
Nahurot.
but you can read this when you come to Palmgrass and at Kapihan ni Lumaya at our library restaurant. There is one copy for free reading. Don't just steal it. I don't give you an idea. You know, di na nato di butang dito, no? Okay. And then so aside from that, she is also an author of this duo book. This is 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗀 by Erlinda Alburo and Esther Tapia. And also, of course, she is an editor. Yes, this was
We launched it here.
yes, this was launched here at Palmgrass sa Cebu
Yeah.
Heritage Hotel, Doha 2018. And she is also an editor. This is also available still, Sugilanong Sugbuanon, from 1921 to 2005, and also the Sugilanong Sugbuanon from until 1940, Cebuano fiction until 1940. And also, she also still has Sugilambong. Hurot na? Wala diri maapil na. So kadaghang libro wala man ako. We show all the books of Dr. Rita, dili na mada, DMD. Di mada kung ihurot tanan. According to Google, it's 54 books. They was so good to Dr. Linda. So thank you very much to Dr. Linda. Now we have these questions. So you can write your questions in the comment section, but we may also have you like 2 questions that you will entertain at the after our conversations with Carla. You still have a question like your notable. Do we ask you that question now? Who are the notable, and later na lang na. So we have now Carla Kim Singh, and she has a case study on the poetry of 𝗄𝗏 𝗏𝗃𝗀. And we would like to show Carla. She is now based in Paris. And hello. So we would like to ask Carla, who is 𝗄𝗏 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗀, and why did you choose her works as a case study?
Madungog ra ko.
Madungog ra.
Madungog, okay. So kinsaning bayhana si 𝗄𝗏, no? Alang sa Nasaag actually is the first collection of Balak or poems by 𝗄𝗏 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗀, and 𝗄𝗏 hails from Tuburan. It is a slow-paced town in the northern part of Cebu, but she has been a resident in the busy city since she was in college. I think she went to CNU, and up until the publication of the book. 𝗄𝗏 is known, aside from being a poet, as a traveler, and she blogs about her trips all over the country and also abroad in her personal website, which she calls Backpacking with a Book. And her travel essays has been published in different papers, national papers, local and national papers. So Karon, I think she lives in Munich, in Germany, and she's also watching us. Hello, 𝗄𝗏, dira sa Munich. So I'm showing you a glimpse of the poet's personal life here, contrary to Ronald Barthes's notion that the author of a text should be a shadow. This should not be the case of 𝗄𝗏 as a poet, because in a good number of poems in her collection, Yeah, in a good number of points in her collection, she distinguishes herself as the individual I. And the personification of this I is established poetically by a language that is very ambiguous and feminine. Or sa inato pa sa Binisaya, gainday-inday nga poetic voice.
So, daghang salamat. So, you chose her. So, why did you choose among all poets in Cebu or at that time? So, at what year? In what year did you have this case study about this paper about the works of Jonah?
Ako ni siyang gisulat para sa akong literary theory nga klase kay Ma'am 𝗞𝗿𝗄𝗆. Maestra na ko si Dr. 𝗞𝗿𝗄𝗆 o si Dr. Linda Alorro po. So mauning honored kayo ko nga naga-istorya ko about women's poetry in Cebuano with Ma'am Linda. Gipili na ko si Jonah because at that time she was very prolific. I think nato siya siya column sa Rappler. At the same time, nagaswat po siya Balak, nag-blog siya. It was very current in 2015. So that's why I chose Jonah. And Bisaya kayo siyang dako. She's bisdak and she's very loud and kanang loud and proud na Cebuana.
So that's why. So it's 2015, and she was a prolific writer also at that time. So you chose her, loud and proud Cebuana. So but you describe her poetry as ambiguous and inday-inday. So
Ang kahiling naa sa iyang balak, wala sa iyang personality or sa travel essays niya.
only the inday-inday or the ambiguity only shows in the poetry but not in her personal life. So
Pwede man sad na kay dili man ang imong poetry panag sa dili man na siya necessarily kanang murag you like use a persona without sa poetry, ma'am.
yeah, so please tell us about how do you please this is your term problematize the expression inday-inday, or please analyze what is this Binisaya expression inday-inday that you describe. You describe Jonah's poetry as ambiguous and inday-inday. So please discuss this. Explain nga no sa ni inday-inday. Sugot pa tawag inday-inday ang feminine poetry.
Wait, so the Cebuano's impression of the feminine consciousness and sensibility is best reflected in the colloquial metaphor for an uncertain rain, inday-inday. And the Bisaya word inday, literally it means young or little girl, is a common term of endearment, and this word is usually placed before a girl's name. For example, Inday Jonah, Inday Carla, Inday Linda. And for most girls, this term of endearment sticks until she's a grown woman. You know, to be addressed as Inday is very sweet and very local for the Visayans and even Mindanaoans. Inday Sara Duterte, she's using that now, no? It gives you a sense of belonging as it certainly pertains to one's identity, not just in terms of gender, but as a local of the region. However, when Inday is used in the repetitive, as in Inday, Inday, it switches into this farcical metaphor that carries a cryptic and condescending meaning. It brings with it a downpour of translations, which could be indecisive, unpredictable, unclear, unstable, wavering, uncertain, wishy-washy, and so on and so forth. Pareho sa atua pag-describe sa panahon. Nag-inday-inday maning uwana, ana ta. All of these interpretations and translations point to the concept of ambiguity. And this practice of associating the ambiguous to the feminine draws a binary of what is male and what is female consciousness, upholding the pretense that objectivity and reason is not a property of the female, but that of the male. But in the poems of Jonah, this inday-inday or ambiguous feminine voice is very expressive, Sometimes it is soft and mysterious, but most of the time it is persuasive. And this ambiguous voice gives no apologies. Rather, it exudes a sense of self-assurance and pride.
Yes, so it's ambiguous and so now we would like to ask. So maybe maybe there are comments from about that. Pero we also have reactors from the Women in Literary Arts in a while. So there is a greeting from for you, like from Laika Castro. Greetings from the BA Literature of Cebu Normal University. So there is also a question. I think this is for Dr. Erlinda. Meron pa ba pong, this is from Taguig City and Pateros, the teachers. Meron po bang binukot? Kasi parang ayaw na ng iba maging binukot. So maybe you can answer this later when you come back here. and then also Ranay Lenny Molena says maayong hapon sa tanan, naglantaw gikan sa Taguig City and Pateros. And also someone who commented with the Facebook name Rosas Pandan sends a heart. So someone is named Rosas Pandan here watching us. so 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 now we would like to ask Carla regarding Inday in the literary theory. Is this already is this are you the one who first theorized this, have this theory of the Inday in 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 literature, describing women women's poetry like Jonah's poetry? Then please elaborate on the word on the or on in please elaborate on the Inday and ambiguity in the world of the poetry of Jonah.
So the title of Jonah's collection, Alang sa Nasaag, when we literally translate it to English, it means for the lost. Murag sa agon jud mo ni Jonah. And
Show ang
the,
iyang poem. We have
we,
a copy of the poem. Yes.
the main word in the title, lost, not only creates a web of meanings, but more importantly, it invokes a feeling of uncertainty from the reader. When, ang Inday-Inday, murag ako alang nang gi-theorize, but I based it actually on William Empson in his essay, Seven Types of Ambiguity. So it's not my original theory. I just based it on William Empson, Seven Types of Ambiguity, which states that ambiguity gives room, for alternative reactions to the same piece of language. And this is what I, as a reader, perceived when I read the poems in Alang sa Nasaag by Jonah. And let me show you. Pwede ba ko mag-present, ma'am, o kanang poem ni Jonah? I will do it.
I-share lang.
Adela.
Share screen si si Carla.
Yeah, Adara. Akong i-try.
Yes. So while Carla is trying to share her screen, so Manay Aiko Bicol is saying she is watching from MRTHS, sangay ng lungsod ng Taguig at Pateros. So watch out for our trivia quiz with exciting prizes. Only 2 questions this time. So so one for the on-site audience and the second would be for everyone, but you answer through the comment section. So we have Cheesy Tormis saying greetings from Talisay City College. So I think Carla can now share her screen.
I
Sige.
don't know why, Dara. Okay, here. So, okay, so ambiguity. For example, sa kaninga balak ni Jonah, titled Lama. Nausik ang kape, gisawo sa carpet. Inanay kining ning tuhop, unya nauga sa huyop sa hangin, apan ang lama nagpabilin. So this Balak talks about a cup of coffee that was spilled onto a carpet. It was absorbed by the fabric, was blown dry by the wind, and there it left a permanent stain. The verse is succinct, sort of like the haiku, and it presents an image with a central metaphor, ang lama or the stain, and that leads the reader to a confusing interpretation. This is where the invocation of ambiguity or uncertainty begins. Is the persona really talking about a coffee stain or a carpet on a carpet? The poem is unattached to a particular context, and this opens the text to various interpretations. One possible theme of this text is, let's say, sexual abuse, as we can imagine that there could be a violence that led to this scene. However, for those who can't go beyond the love angle, it can just be about the separation of lovers and they broke up in a coffee shop, in Starbucks. You know, in another perception, it can even be about a failed pregnancy. Who knows? You know, maybe or maybe not. The layers of interpretation are possible because of the kind of language that opens itself to be read in various ways. In the Inday, yet the poem is also capable of setting a parameter for the reader by the use of a central metaphor. And this central metaphor holds the universe of the poem. In this particular poem, the central metaphor is the stain or lama. And reading this poem is like staring at a photograph, you know, of a coffee stain. And it leaves you wondering, how did it get there? Who spilled the coffee, or why is there a spill in the first place? And this sense of ambiguity and restraint is very distinct in Jonah's poetic voice, despite her very personal and uninhibited Weltanschauung or worldview. For instance, in another Balak, where she shows her Ars Poetica, this one, it's entitled Proseso. Higumon nako ang kahilom. Sa akong lawak, akong tipigan ang mga adlaw sa akong alimpatakan. Magkaanam kinig kadaghan, hangtod nga muawas, mangitag kagawsan, ug manglusot kini sa akong mata, sa akong ilong, sa akong baba, sa akong mga tudlo, sa papel hangtod manggamot, manalingsing kinig laing kahilom, diha sa imong gibasa. So in this Balak titled Proseso, the persona talks about collecting silence in her own space, while nurturing the days on her heels until it expounds and searches for an opening, and eventually the silence radiates out of her eyes, her nose, her mouth, her fingers, and finally it lands on paper, takes root there, and sprouts the same sacred silence in the person reading it. In this poem, one will wonder where exactly is the process here, if process is defined in the conventional sense or the masculine sense of the word that is, related to order, measurements, and rigidity. The poem gracefully ruptures this established meaning of process by establishing that there is a force in the emptiness and formlessness of silence and spontaneity, that these two can bring movement, growth, and progress. And this too is a kind of process. And the use of irony in this Balak created a tension between the opposing meanings that brought a new or feminine take on the prevailing definition and impression of a process. So strategically, Jonah was able to use ambiguity to redefine the process, the meaning of the word process.
Yes. So thank you very much, Carla, for reading to us this beautiful poem of Jonah. And then we would like to ask you regarding, so for you, in your paper, do you consider Inday as the poetics of the woman or the feminine poetry? Is it, or does Jonah's poetry also reflects the poetry of other women, the Inday voice?
Well, if you're asking kung exclusive ba ni sa babae or exclusive ni nga voice kay Jonah, dili ni siya exclusive no sa babae ra. Kining inday-inday or ambiguity, it can also be achieved, let's say, by a male writer or an LGBT writer. What I am trying to say is the inday-inday poetic expression is kind of parallel to the macho expression, which is very prevalent in Cebuano poetry, na gidiscuss ni Ma'am Linda earlier, you know. And the masculine voice or the very macho voice, ato na lang yung tawagon, that is very direct and aggressive, which we consider the only intellectual or socially relevant voice. When we say nag-inday-inday, it should not connote with weakness or lack of reason, you know. It is rather creative and strategic. And this indirect manner of communicating or expressing one's ideas and thoughts is not something negative, actually. Women or LGBT writers, they need not express themselves like male writers do sa karong panahon na. You know, I particularly chose the poems of Jonah because the ambiguity of Jonah's poetry deals also with the inquiry of the feminine self. So, if you would permit, pakitonta mo sa nasiyo sa kabalag, ganahan pa mo?
Yes, yes.
Nasiyo sa kabalag. Wait. Unsa ang pag-present, ma'am? Well, can you? It needs approval.
You need to approve.
Okay, there. So I will show you. Where? Yeah, this one. Makita ra?
Oh, sa gagmay ang text.
Gagmay lang siya, no? Pero kay taas man, sorry. Okay. Ako nang i-try pasahon. Mainom so. Isla, pahimangno sa kaugalingon after Mary Oliver. Niining kinabuhia, kinahanglang makapanag-iya kag usa ka isla. Mubarog sa iyang lighthouse, imong bantayan ang palibot, imong basahon ang bawod, ang hangin. Jonah, ang kuna ang isla sa imong kaugalingon. Ang imong mga batuong baybayon, ang imong mga pangpang. Ang bakikaw nimong mga kahoy, ang imong gibiyaang mga balay. Ang kuna, ang imong kasakit, mga sinuka sa siyudad, nga nagkatag sa baybayon sa imong kaugalingon. So in this poem, Jonah compares the self to an island. She converses to herself with a strong declaration that in this life, she should own an island where she can stand on her lighthouse and keep guard by deciphering the waves and the air. This is a statement of taking charge of one's own way of understanding and navigating through the world without abandoning one's own way of seeing, of listening, and speaking. And in the following stanzas, she plants her name into the poetic dialogue and tells herself to claim her own person, her sea and its stones, her cliffs and awkward trees, and the homes she left behind for this island. And finally, to claim too the pain that is being washed ashore. The naming of the self and its reference to an imperfect yet self-sustaining island is a testament of the female identity and liberation.
Yes, thank you very much,
Wow.
Carla, for explaining to us and also reading to us that beautiful poem of and empowering a poem about empowerment also of Jonah. So, for you, na interchange na ako kung questions for you ha. How is
No
the
problem.
Inday poetics achieved? So you mentioned that this is the same as Urong Sulong song of, of Regine Velasquez, and also you also mentioned about Balitaw of um, 𝗵𝗂𝗶𝗺𝗃. Is the woman there ambiguous or inday? Sa irog, jutay. So, how do you achieve this inday poetics?
There is a great deal of wordplay. So we achieve this by wordplay. That's one in Jonah's poems. Just like the unpredictable Inday weather, there are pieces in her collection that maneuver the reader in unexpected directions. Just like this poem. Pwede ko pa show sa slide, please. Wala. Up, wala. Kani. Siniguelas, alang kang akira, akong pag-umangkon. Ma, tanawa ka. Daw nahulog ang akong dughan sa siniguelas nga imong gitungtungan. Samtang nagnisi kang naglatay-latay sa gabok nga mga sanga. Sama kagabok sa imong mga bukog. Apan di sama kalig-on sa imong kaisog. So the speaker in this dedication poem is still Jonah herself, whom her niece Akira dearly calls Ma, a shortcut of the word, mama. Jonah here narrates an experience when she saw Akira climbing a siniguelas tree, and this tree grows only on rocky terrain and is stripped of leaves when it is about to bear fruit, visually appearing like a tree skeleton. I don't know kung kaila mong siniguelas nga kahoy, ako kaila ko kay taga-Gimaras man pud ko, and daghan kayo siniguelas sa amua, and kung mamunga gani ang siniguelas, wala na siya dahon. Puro na lang jud siya kanang branches. So visually it appears like a skeleton, and this character of the tree is reflected in Akira's joyful and brave spirit despite her fragile young bones. And the poem employs paranomasia to inject, that amused mood within the somewhat tense experience. In the end, despite Akira and the siniguela's frailty and seemingly lifeless appearance, both of them are transformed into a figure of invisible strength. And there is a conscious use of alliteration in the choice of words. Nahulog, nagngisi, naglatay-latay, kaggabok, kalig-on, kaisog. And conveniently, this activates the poetic wordplay that is found in the melodic verses. Another effect of the use of wordplay in the poems results in redefining words and building new layers of meaning. And this is a potent act of establishing a silenced and marginalized voice. For example, in this poem. Sorry, gamay na sad, pero nindot ni siya nga poem. Pasensya, gamay kayo. So, lingin. Suma pa sa mga insik. Kinahanglan, daghan lingin, alon daghan glasya, sud bagong tuig. Fights na tingali ni ako. Lingin ang mga kalimutaw sa akong 8 ka mga anak, nagsiga, kay 𝗬𝗏 panihapon. Karong usa na lang ka oras ang kuwang una maputol niining tuiga. Lingin ang bola nga napunitan ni Dado didto sa basurahan, kilid sa bangko, nga daghag tawo nga isig withdraw. Lingin akong utok nga nagsigig tuyok sa palibot, basin di ay naiputos nga Jollibee or McDo. Lingin sad ang mga tiyan sa akong mga anak nga klarong gibitok. Lingin ang tiles diri sa skywalk sa Robinsons. Ako sad, lingin ang tiyan nagpaabot sa akong ikasyam. So this Balak so yeah, this Balak scrutinizes the obscurity of the word lingin. At the onset, it establishes three meanings of the word. Okay, sa mga insect, when it's round, it's lucky, you know. Pero lingin, round, lucky, nauseous. Maunang i-establish sa poem. And the poem starts off by connecting the word lingin to roundness, the most widely used implication, and to the Chinese influenced cultural concept of the round shape being a bearer of luck, especially on New Year's Eve. Then within the verses of the poem, dismal images that pertain to the meaning of lingin is presented. The wide round eyes and bloated stomach of the 8 hungry children of the poem's persona, the ball her son found in the garbage, the pattern of the tiles on the sidewalk where they will be spending New Year's Eve, and finally her own pregnant belly that is heavy with her ninth child. And these different layers of the word found in the poem reveals an internal conflict that results in alternative truths. The feminine in the Inday voice here finds a sense of power in the use of ambiguity, wherein she was able to assert her ideas and commentary on the existing culture and tradition.
Yes. Thank you very much, Carla, for sharing with us the lingin and interpreting it, also translating it into English, the lingin. So everything there is actually a song about lingin by another band that has interpreted one of Pamgra's songs. Tanan lingin no, akong balay lingin. So kanang tanan lingin. So from start to finish, everything is lingin, representing the is a social commentary actually of the children, the homeless children, also at the skywalk there at the Robinsons. So thank you, Carla. It's a beautiful poem, and thank you to Jonah for that beautiful poem. So we have these questions already, and we will have reactions and poetry reading by our women poets from the former presidents of women in literary arts. Each of them will about there are only three, but each one of them will read a poem, um, uh, one of her poems, and then they will also give the reaction to our discussion. But there is still a question for Dr. Erlinda, and she will answer for her who is the most for her who are the notable poets in Visayan poetry, or who are the women poets that you think should be uh, we should give like honor to these women. And there is also tagsa lang noon ang question kay there is a question from Jocelyn Iraula Dorado, for the women writers using man's name as pseudonym like Quijano, do they also assume the gender perspective of a man? So which one would you like to answer first? Would you like to answer Jocelyn's question? If the other question is for you throughout Visayan poetry, who do you think are the notable women poets? So
I'll only mention
yes.
those writing in Cebuano, not English ha. Kay naaman po ha English. I think the top three, no? Okay, most notable are the older women. So you have two associate members of WILA who are not residing in Cebu. They have published a lot. They have won prizes. So these are Marjorie Evasco from Bohol and Merly Alunan. She's now in Tacloban, but she writes in three Visayan languages. But she also writes in Cebuano. And the third one is not yet old, but she's retired. Is Esther Tapia. I think it's better than even the two. She's, I think, the most, the one who should be So given more recognition. I have partnered with her in two books, no, katong Sinugang and Duhawit. And she's very lyrical, and her experiences in many places in the world would widen perspective of the readers too.
Yes. And then you include yourself in that. Of course, you're humble, so you wouldn't include yourself in the list. So thank you very much, Dr. Erlinda. So this question now. So of course, you have these books. Even Adonis has his poems translated by Merle Alunan into English, and of course, it is it's already a different poem, but it's sometimes it
Mm,
retains the poetry of Adonis, but it's really the poetry of Merle
yeah.
already. And then, so there is a question from Jocelyn. For the women writers using man's name as pseudonym, like Quijano, the one you said about
Mm.
the American period or just pre-war, do they also assume the gender perspective of a man?
I don't know about the others because I haven't read them, no. But
Mhm.
only this Flora Burgos. She uses Gerardo Regavista in her fiction, but in poetry, she speaks as a woman because her name there is Flora Burgos. The reason why they assume a man's names because women were not considered good, no, writers. And even if there was this in because you have the women's suffrage movement in the 1930s, and so in Cebu we had this magazine called Babaye, no, which is supposed to be, it's like a women's magazine with tips on cooking, and but they were written by women. These things about family, but the poetry and the short stories were written mostly by males, and it's the male now who assume the women's name. So it's rather interesting, no? The women write using men's name, and the men's name write using female names. In because it's in the magazine Babaye, no? So depende man at kuan sa context siguro. Um, I have read Quijano's poetry, but she's a woman there because her name is Flora Burgos. And actually, Gerardo Ragavista in her fiction, I read only her long fiction novels, not her short stories. But we have a collection of her short stories. Well, I have read them DIY, and but her name later she used her real name now, but only in the beginning she used Gerardo Largavista because it was more acceptable, no.
Yes. So there was a pending question by
Binokot.
are there still binukot, or do the women still like to be binukot?
The word binokot is probably not used anymore. But the last binokot that I know just recently died. I don't know, like 2, 3, or 4 years ago. Lola Elena of the Sinulod tribe of Panay, and she was an epic singer. She memorized the epic Hinilawod and other. I think there were only two epics in the Visayas, among the Ilonggos, no. And she memorized this, and she would uh, sit in her hammock, and you know the verses, the verse would go with the swing also of the hammock like that. The kind of, it regulated her performance, no. But she was not really a binokot anymore because she got married to a commoner, no. She was belonged to some r- you know partly noble, siguro a descendant from the noble indigenous of Panay.
Yes. It's Panay Bukidnon.
uh
Yes. So daghang salamat to Dr. Erlinda. So if you have more questions, you you indicate your question in the comment section, or you can ask it in a few minutes. So we will now have our reaction from our um, poets, the former president. So I would like to show you that here at Palmgrass, si Carla has not read any of her poem. So, so, and also Dr. Erlinda has not read any, di na siya mabasa. You, you, you check her books here at Palmgrass, Dr. Erlinda's poetry. And also, Carla has very beautiful poems also here in her collection, Pansit Poetry. I've been reading some of her poems in some of our book book sale or sa ganito tawag ana live selling live selling events of books actually mine mine. So Pansit Poetry by Carla Kim Sing. So I'm for those poems that don't have, because we have viewers from different parts of the world. So when the poem has no English translation, I would be forced to translate it on the spot, especially if also I would choose the poem on the spot also. Then I would translate the Cebuano or Visayan, Cebuano poem on the spot into English. So now we are so excited to have this poetry. The first we will have to give her reaction, and also she will give us a taste of her poetry. With this she is the author of this poetry collection, The Winter Lady, and please help me welcome Malou, she is now the Vice Chair of Women in Literary Arts of Cebu, and she was also formerly the wala di ka. Wala sila rin di ay pulos ka vice always vice busy day kay ka. So this is the poem, the poetry from the collection The Winter Lady. So please help me welcome. Na-center na siya. Okay na. So, Malou Alorro.
Thank you very much. No, this is actually dedicated to 𝘗cie Fernandez. She's the director of 𝗍𝗶𝗆 Foundation, and she was my mentor with regards to women and violence against women and children. Now my story will be like the rest, full of color. You will tell it as it is, so they will not miss the lines and the curves of where the reds, yellows, and blues will take shape, while your hands will trace the span in this painting. Women, black and blue or blue-blooded, regal and crowned in the realm of this edge, where men will shatter dreams like broken jaws or mince the strength of youth, until women will no longer look into mirrors, but give birth to other women who will take the journey more carefully, swim the lakes of waters pure, bathe in the power of suns, grip the road with their feet, bind the rivers into its course. The mist will lift into clarity. Thank
Yay.
you.
A round of applause. Pwede ma-raise ang volume sa audio sa kanang nga mic. So, we would now like to ask, dito rin hapon yung microphone. Okay. Diretso na ka sa imong reaction. 1 minute lang. Less than.
Okay. So very briefly, no, based on what I heard, no, from both Ma'am Linda and also Carla, nagpasalamat jud ko that in my generation now, I am witnessing women's participation with my membership in the Women in Literary Arts. Kaya ang sa precolonial, although it was beautiful, it was participatory, it was very creative, pero unsustained ang iyang documentation. Unya, later na, during the Spanish or even towards the pre-war, pero grabe kaayo ang kanang pagduot, no, o ang pagka-bind sa kababayan, no, wala na sila nakaila o kinsa sila, wala freedom, no, sa ilahang, wala sila voice. So I'm very happy that now in my generation, even in my 60s, bago naman ko na member sa WILA, in 2015, naagi organization of women in literary arts, and it's the only one in the country, and probably kung ako nang i-research, I will be very happy na if it's going to be the only one in Asia as well, no. It's going to turn 32 ang WILA in September 24 next month, and it has a constitution and bylaws, and it has a code of ethics. I think it's important for women to organize into literary arts nga adunay guidelines, no, labi na karong panahon na kay wala di siya ang mga guidelines nga magkagubot sad, no. And then we have also changed our themes not only in terms of love, we have also included our advocacy for violence against women, disasters, climate change, even LGBT, participation, inclusiveness. We have already gone into that kind of kanang bearing. Unya, it's not only women also being with women, friendship is also literary mentoring. There's also production of literary works, critiquing, workshops, unya, poetry reading, book launching is really helping one another, promoting each other's works. That's the beauty of being in an organization. And my own witnessing as a member of Wila Cebu, I started as a stalker in 1991. No, I did not have the guts to introduce myself kay pagtan-aw nako huy Ginoo ko ka mga banggiitan ba ani mga multi-awarded. So 1991 until 2015, only in 2015 did I have the guts to introduce myself and saying nga, pwede ko magpamembro sa Wila. And I was already in my 50s. No? But I'm very happy nga because I already had experience sa Faigao nga workshop. And then some of my essays were also published already in Sunstar, so weekend, no, with 𝗏𝗏 being the editor, and then somebody from Wila board yung mga officers also endorsed me. So nakakuha gid ko sa tulo ka requirements. So na membro gyud ko sa Women in Literary Arts, and because I'm so kanang ingon ta kanang excited kaayo mo tingaling magsige lang jud ko ka vice chair niya, di jud kong balibad, no. So murag kaupat na ni nako ka term kada ka vice chair ko, nakaagi na kog upat ka mga presidents, and I'm still very happy and I'm very enlightened. So we also would like to encourage young people or women of all ages who are interested in literary arts, in literary work, to come and join us sa Women in Literary Arts Cebu. So thank you very much.
Dagdag salamat to Malou, the eternal vice chair of Wila, the vice chair of all seasons. So next, we have actually this question also from, we would take note of this question. So there is a question from the Taguig City and Pateros. There is a question from Taguig City and Pateros that from Ferdi Aparticio. With him are the Genalo Gerardo from Ususan Elementary School, Beverly from WBNHS SDO Tapat. The question is this, because we are only until American period in our discussion. The question is, were there poetry, literary pieces written and dedicated to the Visayan and Cebu comfort women during the Japanese occupation? So stay tuned for the answer of that. So grabe the whole period na yun. So dili pwede. So our audience wouldn't let us skip a period. We only discuss American then contemporary period. So they noticed that we haven't discussed Japanese period. So the question, if there is a poem dedicated to the comfort women. So later we would, the answer now is wala pa. We haven't discovered it yet. So the nag-conference na ang presidents of Women in Literary Arts of Cebu, and they said that they have not yet discovered this poem dedicated for maybe the younger poets now would be writing something dedicating a poem to the comfort women, or to those who experience atrocities in during the Japanese occupation. So stay tuned for, there is another question. No, not a question, but a comment from 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 male tour guide, and he is so glad to be among women poets. So next we will have also a former president. Actually, I remember my aunt who was a teacher in the University of San Carlos Girls High, and she was telling me that she was a very good student in Girls High. Were you the one sa Girls High? so so when I showed that this book, Pagsubang sa Bangaw, Pagsidlak sa Bulan, and this is from Desiree Balota. I don't know the uh, Oh, yeah, na. Yeah. And then so she said, she commented actually, Desiree was my student and a very good student in when she was in the University of San Carlos Girls High. So tigulang na gid ako auntie, no? so so now we would like to you to we would like to welcome you. Please get ready to listen to a poem to be read by uh, Balota. One of her poems here at dito. So here in this collection, Pagsubang sa Bangaw, Pagsidlak sa Bulan. So you will. Actually I translated this into a rainbow rice and moon rice. Rainbow rice and our shine dining pagsa moonshine and rainbow rice and moonshine. So we have Des Balota.
Mayong hapon. So akong basahon ang usa sa mga balak nga naa sa pagsubang sa bangaw, pagsidlak sa bulan. Ang uluhan ani Thanos. So in English, straight. Okay, Thanos. Damgo kong mahipos ang katanos sa hapsay nga dagat. Aron mahimo kining kwerdas sa akong gitara. Ug ang paghalok sa tubig sa baybayon, damgo kong matigom sa akong mga tudlo. Aron sa pagduyog ko sa awit sa atong lalawigan, madungog mo pag-usab ang awit sa atong kasaysayan. Huni sa talidhay ug panag-usa ang sa atong pagkabata, matagligo nato sa dagat sa atong tugkaran. Humanta mutabang nilang mama ug tiya matag Sabado. Matagtapok nato og sigay alang sa luto-luto. Human magbansay sa pag-awit alang sa misa kada Domingo. Matagsulob nato sa mga pako para sa langgam-langgam. Human sa atong pag-anghel sa Flores, matagpagbalak mog tubig-tubig sa may baybayon. Samtang ako naggitara, ni adtong nadalaga na kita. Damgo kong mahipos ang katanos sa hapsay nga dagat. Aron mahimo kining kwerdas sa akong gitara, ug ang paghalok sa tubig sa baybayon, damgo kong matigom sa akong mga tudlo. Aron mutaob pagbalik atong panag-usa sa atong luto-luto, langgam-langgam, tubig-tubig. Pagkabalita man gud nimo nga nasabtan ko nagnadawat ang mga pagtulunan nga gipaambit sa mga babaylan sa kolehiyo, nabugto ang kwerdas sa akong gitara. Nilukot sa manako nga nawad-an sa katanos sa imong mga mata.
Yay.
Salamat.
Grabe to nga poem ba? Apil na history adto. Thank you very much for that beautiful poem. So we would like to ask Des for her reaction to the discussion on this afternoon.
For my reaction, first and foremost, I would like to share that I am very grateful for the opportunity of being part of WILA, because it is through WILA that I have learned more about Cebuano literature. In school, very seldom is Cebuano literature, during my time at least, when I was in basic education, Cebuano literature is seldom shared, and Cebuano literature would be brought to my consciousness if I consciously look for the information. So with that, I'm very thankful to WILA, and I'm also very thankful to 𝗲𝗂 for organizing events like this, because it is important that we stay, that we have that sense of rootedness, not just through the very place that we live in, but also through, we must also have that sense of consciousness and celebration of this culture, the kulturang binisaya. Now, for my reaction, I would just like to put this in a capsule. It makes me proud and happy that in the sharing about Cebuano literature, I found out that the contributions of women, and with these, I see that there is that, number one, creation and conviction. There is that creation that conveys power and also life. There is the conviction for the advocacies that we fight for, and we see that from the pre-colonial time to the Cebuano time. So, Cebuano time, contemporary time. So, there is that creation, the craftsmanship, and with that, we also have that voice of conviction. And second point is collaboration and connection. So I see that there is collaboration and connection, given that in the different periods, there is that sense of community that is given attention in the different literary works. Now, as what Ma'am Malou also shared, that collaboration and connection is very much alive in writers' groups. So, for example, in Willa, we have that. There is mentoring. And then Ma'am Malou and I plan, and we hope that this is going to materialize, so that we are going to also have, so first we have, so what was shared earlier, the Duhawit, Ma'am Esther and Ma'am Linda. And then Sinugang, we have Ma'am Linda, Ma'am Esther, and Ma'am Cora Almerino right there. So we plan also to have our duet, Ma'am Malou and I. So we are going to see first how that is going to materialize. And another one is that this is not only exclusive to Willa members. We also see that there are partnerships. In fact, even in vlogs, we have the collabs and so on. So there. And lastly, because of that creation and conviction and collaboration and connection, then we are able to see, and we are able to learn about it this afternoon, right? So we have the collections of literary work, the collections that show a celebration. So daghan kaayong salamat sa mga nipaambit karong hapuna no nalipay kayo ko nga ani nga oportunidad nga makapaminaw, especially no sa mga gipaambit ni Ma'am Linda o ni Miss Carla, o karon no napatay mga reactions. So daghan kayong salamat.
Salamat to the insights from our reactor, former President of Villa, Des Balota, and also for sharing with us her poem. So we would like you to know that also available here at Palmgrass, Pasahanan is the collection of poetry or this is the history and poems of the women in literary arts, feminists. And this is still available. So these are different, the writers, the members of Villa, they have their poems here, and also a description of how they were able to write their poetry. So this is nanay price din yun. Appeal yun din siya sa live selling sa una, 390 pesos only. This is feminist, and you are going to be able to read the works of many women poets here, feminist. Ang sa nga year? Hinumdo mo sa nga year? 20, 20, 20, 2015. 2015, first printing. 15, gamay kayo. So daghang salamat to Des for her reaction and for her poem. So now we would like to also to we would like you to know that we will be announcing if there is no more, we will be entertaining one question from the audience, or maybe after na lang, we would entertain the question from the audience, a question from the audience if you have a question. So we would be announcing the the winners of the hybrid speech contest after the reaction from another former president of 𝗲𝗏. And then I would remind you that we have a trivia quiz with exciting prizes, and we will still have a closing statement from Dr. Erlinda and Carla, if Carla is still around. Wala na si Carla? Nilakaw na siya. Napa siya. So we will still have the closing statement. So we get ready with the poem by Hannah Gabales. So there is a Lindy Rivera's reaction is love it. We don't know which one she loves, the Malou or Des. So the poem by Malou or the whole event. So she loves love it. Thank you for loving it, Lindy. And so we will now have the UP Cebu literature instructor, and she is also a former pwede na, to read us one of her poems, and also to give her reaction to our event this afternoon. So please help me welcome Hannah Gabales.
Kay giuna man gid ang pagbasa sa Balak. So Balak aya pa mo react. Balak react. Okay. Duha akong giandam pero naka-decide ko nga kani siya akong basahon kay una binisaya, ikaduha na-inspire ko sa Ars Poetica ganiha nga gipangbasa. Ang pagluto. Ang pagluto magsugod sa kahibalo, sa saktong sagol o rekado. Dayon sa pagpalit didto sa merkado, mosunod ang pag-andam sa subak ug panakot, pagpanit o paghiwa sa mga sahog ug sakot. Dayon sa paghikay sa tanan panglabot, asin, toyo, pwede pod suka, ayo kalimti na ay ganahan og paminta. Pero ang tinuod, sugdan sa init nga mantika. Ang lamas gisahon ang sahog apilon. Taod-taod ang sagol nga utanon. Apan ang bansay kahibalo, nga ang giluto mahimog lamian pag-ayo, samtang gidigamo sa hinay nga kayo. Sama sa magtatagik og balak, nga ang pagpaitos sa iyang mga bakak.
Yay.
So,
Yeah. Inday to nga kayo. Ang sa to nga kayo, inday nga kayo.
Mura pod kay hinay-hinay man gid nga kayo. Unya inspired a little bit by kinsaning dili gusto sa mga poets kay baka ko na. Dili tinuod o ambot. Anyways, naghuna-huna gid kog unsay reaction nga akong pwede ikatampo, no? Unya kung sugtan inyo, pwede basahon ako a portion of a paper that I wrote for conference held by or organized by KWF, Commission sa Wikang Filipino. So actually the paper is in Filipino but I retranslated to English. The title is Kalambuan, Mga Bagong Kaganapan at ang Estado ng Panitikang Cebuano. So basically in that paper, I wrote about the state now of publishing in Cebuano literature, including, of course, works produced by women writers. So, most of the literary materials that are published by academic publishing houses. So mostly these publishing houses are in Manila, of course, no? And those that are published there are the poems or the works that are written in English. So if you have like a book in Cebuano, all poems in Cebuano, they would probably ask for translations before they would accept it. No? So that outside of Metro Manila, there's only one academic publishing house, and this is the University of San Carlos Press. What are the kinds of works produced there? I will touch on a bit sa mga books na gi-introduce sa online selling ganiha. So you have Brown Child, The Best of 𝗲𝗂𝗶 Poetry and Fiction from 1984 to 2012. No, sayang lang kay wala na yung 𝗲𝗂 workshop, but that was really a testament of how a workshop can hone the skill of the writers, and so many of the writers who are still writing now were products of that particular workshop. So including me, and as mentioned by Mama Lucia pod. No? And then there was this novel called Bulahan, but ako lang nang i-mention, no? Kay Balak man ato ang tumong diri karon. So due to the influence of the Cornelio 𝗲𝗂 Memorial Annual Writers Workshop on many writers from Visayas and Mindanao, Brown Child is an important collection. So pag mine na mo. This is a record of the foundation's 28-year history. It is better to say that this foundation of creative writing has morphed into the Tala Workshop series, and I think Des and I were part of the first Tala Workshop series nga poetry pod, no? Right. Okay, so mauna sa another book publication under the USC Press would be Breaking Ground, published. Dili day sa USC ni. For short story man sa di lang ako ikuan ato lang padaganon. I actually in that paper mentioned Pansit Poetry of Carla Can Sing, and since she did not talk about her book, so I will. Ambotong na po ba si Carla? So what is interesting about Carla's work is it is a collection of halo-halo binalaybay, which is the Hiligaynon traditional poem, translated into Filipino, English, or Cebuano. Iyahalang pili asa ana, no? Or it has also Carla's Balak, translated into Hiligaynon or English. Or it has Carla's Tula, which is in Filipino, translated into Hiligaynon, English, or Cebuano. So it's a very interesting collection because of the languages. So you have 4 languages there. No? So a student who would like to probably go into studying the works of Visayan writers who write in many languages can probably also include Carla's Pansit poetry. All right.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, sorry, nalal ko. I'd like to mention, there was this collection of poems also called Pasumbingay, I think poetry, Sugboanong Balak, wherein the literary giant, another literary giant, Dr. 𝗫𝗏𝗄𝗃, mentioned about visibility, voice, and presence of the writers. But because publication is a bit challenging for many writers, what would be the possible way that writers actually will be able to tell the whole world, hey, I'm writing, I'm here. No? One of the solution was started by Bathalad Sugbo. So again, akong ning i-mention gyud kay the organization has helped a lot of writers, and not just amongst themselves, but the writers of other organizations as well. So mao na to nga Pansit Poetry ni Carla, ang alang sa nasaag ni Jonah nga, so they were members of 𝗲𝗂, but at the same time members of Bathalad. And so, dito nila nakita ng avenue. So, I think this is mo gi-mention ni Des nga collaboration, no? Tinabangay ba, no? All right. By the way, Jonas was really very prolific, 50 poems. No? All right. Another one, nga wila pod, pero dito nakalusot ang publication sa Bathalad would be Cindy Velasquez. So we're talking about contemporary writers of Cebuano poems. We should also include Lawas, that's the title of the collection by Cindy Velasquez. Here, Velasquez describes the stages of women's life, from a child's eye to a young woman's navel, to motherhood and old age. So she used the parts of the body, no, to show the different stages or phases of a woman's life. Right. Unya, nitaas pa gyud ni. Sorry. Kay sayang kaayo. Bathalad Cebu also published the poems of another 𝗲𝗂 member, si Ma'am Gingging Dumdum. So she has her Falling and Quiet Water, which is a collection of haiku. And very importantly, you have also 𝗬𝗪𝗏, Bathalad Maninga publication actually. So it was a collaboration, really, by the writers themselves, no? And Joshua Cabrera, basically, because he was the one doing the layout and the artworks. All right, so shout out to Joshua Cabrera. No? 𝗬𝗪𝗏, about 𝗬𝗪𝗏. It was, I don't know, I think it was, Ma'am Esther mentioned one time that 𝗬𝗪𝗏 is supposed to be a continuation of Sinugang, or part 2 of Sinugang. But since at the time, Cora wasn't able to submit her poems, it was much later, mo nang naka-Sinugang 2, much later. But before that, there was 𝗬𝗪𝗏. No? For Sinugang, the authors wrote, we made this collection so that each of us has our own voice. We made various attempts, for example, by recounting ideas and experiences that have not yet been enshrined in Binisaya tradition. So after all, Sinugang is a very landmark work for women writers. What about 𝗬𝗪𝗏? To me, the two poets in 𝗬𝗪𝗏 not only wrote poems about experiences of women, but experiences that is for all humanity. And they ask very difficult questions. So, recommendations. Read, apan hain ang tigtabanog ni Ma'am Esther Tapia. So, where is the kite flyer? And kun pakanon ang kalag ni Ma'am Linda Alburo. All right. What is the difficult question that they ask there? I will not tell you. Spoiler ra kaayo. You will have to find out. Another two collaboration, mahog nga collaboration, and Des hinted on this, was by two 𝗲𝗂 writers. So you have the Winter Lady and Pagsubang sa Bangaw, Pagsidlak sa Bulan. So I would say that this is a collaborative work as well, although it is individual work, because after all, they help each other make the book into fruition. So by telling you all this, I guess it is clear that when there's the intention really to publish and come up with a work, it really will come out kung naay intention ang writer. And I am grateful that the will and the strong will of these women writers to really put out their work, walay hiko-hiko. So, inday-inday ang personality sa poetry, pero sa pag-publish, walay mag-inday-inday. Kinahanglan magpadayon gyud. So mauna, daghang salamat.
Daghang salamat to Hannah Gabales for sharing with us her insights on Cebuano poetry or the situation of publications right now on in Cebuano poetry. So as we would wait, stay tuned for the closing statements later and the question from the audience if there's still a question. So right now, pwede na ako mobalhin. I will ask actually, we don't have another MC. So I would ask Dr. Erlinda to assist me in giving the awards. She's also a commissioner of the Cebu Historical Affairs and Cultural Commission. So she would assist in giving the awards. Ikaw gid mo award aning mga kuan, the very talented, very ako mo mo award siya ikay mo hatag sa kuan kay dito ra. So mo wait dito. So kanang ako mang basahon wala na di na ni gamiton no. So pwede na tayo adjust ang camera and also the title sa side nga awarding of. So we would also again show you the, please adjust the camera. So we would again show you the we would again show you the contestants of this hybrid speech contest, the Central Visayas wide hybrid speech contest. May we show again the contestants from contestants number 1 to 7. So wala sila. So we are giving certificates of recognition to those who are nabay na usaray na we only have one contestant who is here. So we have remove na lang ni. So we have contestant number 1. Please show contestant number 1. So we have contestant number 1 from, this is from asan eh? I-show na please. Kaya wala ko i-copy. wala ko i-copy. So the first
𝗂𝗏𝗂𝗀. Today, we gather here to celebrate the
Ay, basta
timeless
siya,
magic of
kanana.
heroism and to explore the spirit of 𝗂𝗏𝗂𝗀, that noble Filipino warrior of
And then we would
yesteryears
show the
still
pictures
resonates
of
within the hearts of our
contestants,
modern-day
all
heroes.
7 contestants.
In a world
again.
gripped by
Kadyot lang ha, natay technical. Okay. Kanang at aktong audience kay kuan man di kasabot ang uban. So right now we are showing you the contestants, the 7 contestants. So we are not yet announcing the winner. So after we show you the contestants, we would announce the winners. So the first contestant of our a speech contest. It's contestant number 1. Please show the picture of contestant number 1. So the contestant number 1 is 𝗲𝗶𝗆𝗀 of Cebu City National Science High School, Heroism Transcending Centuries, 𝗬𝗏𝗀𝗀𝗃𝗏𝗄 Legacy. Contestant number 2 is still from Cebu City Science National High School. It's 𝗤𝗵𝗵𝗃𝗏𝗄 unveiling the modern day 𝗬𝗏𝗃𝗏𝗃. And then our contestant number 3, the only one here physically on site. Thank you very much for joining us. We have Gabriel Samson from Sacred Heart School, Ateneo de Cebu. Hereditary Heroics, a Legacy Worth Living. Contestant number 4 is 𝘘𝗶𝗺𝗆 Rodrigo from the University of San Jose Recoletos, The Charm of Our Culture. Contestant number 5 is Kyle Amber Altamirano of 𝗞𝗶ℎ𝗁𝗂𝗂 Global Academy with her speech entitled 𝗂𝗏𝗂𝗀𝗃. And the contestant number 6 is from Don Bosco Technical College, Cebu, Zion de los Angeles with his speech Hidden Magic. And contestant number 7 is from the only cyber contestant, the Magic of 𝗂𝗏𝗂𝗃 from City of Bugo Science and Arts Academy, 𝗂𝗏𝗃. And our judges for this contest are, of course, we have architect 𝗞𝗏𝗶𝗏 also from the Cebu City, a heritage architect, also a former newscaster of GMA7 in the English newscast. Architect, she's also a commissioner of the Cebu City Cultural and Historical Affairs Commission. And we also have Doris Bongkak, the senior news editor of CDN Digital. And we have also Ryan Mark Borinaga, formerly of the Freeman. Sila lang ba to? And then we have Soliesta, our Danilo Soliesta, our resource person, the sculptor of the Leon Kilat Monument at Bakong. He's also a researcher about Leon Kilat, and he was here on site also during that event and that contest. And so those are our 4 judges, and we have a unanimous decision from all judges. And of course, we would announce first who is the Netizens Choice Awardee. So I don't have but we based it from the number of views and the number of reaction, because we said in the past, why is it that there are so many reactions but less views? So not only we awarded the one with the most views and most reactions. So we have our winner. Please show her speech. Wala na ni Kon. So we have a part of her speech. Kabaw na daan ko. Technical. So we have
Leon Kilat. Today, we gather here to celebrate the timeless magic of heroism and to explore the spirit of Leon Kilat, that noble Filipino warrior of yesteryears still resonates within the hearts of our modern-day heroes. In a world gripped by challenges and obstacles, it is through the lens of such exceptional individuals that we find hope and guidance.
So we have these awards for Kyle. Netizens Choice Award is given to 𝗂𝗶 Altamirano for being the Netizens Choice in the Central Visayas Hybrid Speech Contest with the theme, How Does Leon Kilat's Magic of Heroism Live in Today's Modern Day Heroes? Given this 19th day of August 2023 at Pamgrass Cebu Heritage Hotel by Pamgrass and DepEd, Region 7. So, amo na lang ni kayo, may mudawat. So, kana. So, so congratulations to 𝗂𝗶 Altamirano for getting the for being awarded with the Netizens Choice. Napatay uban ani third prize. Ikatulong ganti. Ikaw mo basa? Nay, pero wala na tay mic, no? Ako na lang. Ikaw na lang show. So we have our what pa di I know pagodi. Wala pa ma-announce. So we have our third prize, ikatulong ganti. So may we show may ikaduha ni. So ang ikatulong ganti is awarded to, please show the speech. So teng-teng-teng. So we have from, di na mo show ang TV. So dugay kaayo. Inday-inday ang TV. Inday-inday.
Tagubtub, unveiling
The John
the modern
Philip
day
Cazar
Leon
of
Kilat.
Cebu City National.
Let us travel back to a fateful day in 1898, when the air was charged with the spirit of revolution and the fate of an entire nation hung in the balance. With palm leaves waving in the air, a charging storm brewed in the Philippines' heart, with Leon Kilat spearheading the Battle of 𝗫𝗏𝗄. Today, Leon Kilat still exists.
Daghang salamat. Congratulations to John Philip Cazar for his for getting the ikatulong ganti, the third prize for his speech. Unsa to, taas kitog title, no? So naday diri sa akong wala diya ang title. Pero that's the with the theme, How Does Leon Kilat's Magic? So his title is actually Tagubtub, Unveiling the Modern Day Leon Kilat. So congratulations to John Philip Cazar of the Cebu City National Science High School for winning the ikatulong ganti. Ikatulong ganti. And now, di na ta, wala yung mga reaction din ha. Kisa may inyong choice. So, wala yung nang-react. Applause lang diri on site. So, we have a reaction. Wala yung nang-react ang mga fans sa mga kuan. Are they don't know? Nga kanang pagbati sa mga nanalo. Daghang salamat po sa resource speaker in today's activity. So, the second prize, kini dugay ni nga deliberation. Actually, nag-deliberate ang judges for the second and the first. And then, nag-unanimous decision na sila after. Kaya actually, the method of judging is they would rank, and then you would add all their scores. And the lowest score is the lowest score is the one. And then they deliberated. So anyway, natay sa ilang discussion. So, but then they deliberated again, and so they came up with this unanimous decision. The second prize is, please show the speech. So we have, wala tayo drum roll na, wala tayo drum roll. The very talented
Heroes.
Trisha Rodrigo.
They come in all shapes and sizes. From the larger-than-life figures of historical folk tales to the ordinary individuals who selflessly serve their communities. And with all the things that our country has gone through, I can say we've seen it all. While the heroes of the past wielded swords and empowered revolutionaries, the true heroes of today's society transcend the traditional notions of heroism.
Congratulations to University of San Jose Recoletos, Trisha Rodrigo, for winning ikaduhang ganti, and with the title of her speech, The Charm of Our Culture. So, that okay na to? Again, kami remove dawat ani kay wala man sila. Thank you very much to DepEd. And so karuda ang kanang katapusan nga ang pinaka thrilling announcement and who wins the first prize. So kinsa man. So kinsa may ni kadaog, wala may ni wala ni comment diri kung who is your guest who won the first prize. Na unsa man ni the one di lang na ako basahon ang comment. So the first prize is awarded to, so let's show the speech. And here is the winner, the grand winner of our hybrid speech contest in honor of our hero, Leon Kilat.
Let me ask you all, has there been any point in your lives where you felt scared or uncertain? Perhaps a family member got diagnosed with a critical illness and had to be hospitalized. Perhaps you were isolated and couldn't meet your friends. Or perhaps you just simply had no idea what was going to happen to the world. Well, if you said yes to any of these, then your feelings aren't too different from how the first responders and frontliners combating COVID-19 felt during the pandemic. Overwhelming feelings of isolation, fear, and anxiety greeted them every day while fighting the already uphill battle of COVID, only for their efforts to end up being overlooked.
Congratulations to Gabriel Samson of Sacred Heart School Ateneo de Cebu for winning the first prize, unang gante. Dire ko pikas. So, congratulations. Daghang salamat for being really here. Nahibawan na nimo. So actually the comment from 𝗫𝗏𝗄𝗵 is the one from Ateneo. My prediction will win. So wala lang na ako gi-preempt. So pagbati sa mga nanalo according to 𝗫𝗏𝗄𝗵. So now we have, do we still have questions from the audience? So do you have a question? So if you don't have any question, we will now go to our trivia quiz with exciting prizes. So naamoy ko ang diha, naamoy, and then we will also have the closing statement, also words from Carla, after the trivia quiz with exciting prizes. So do we have, do you have any question? Wala? Natangtay na mo? Wala na question from the audience. So wala na. Congratulations from Luis Arvin Cortez Gio. Congratulations. Ateneo heroism lives on. And so, do you have other questions? Wala na no, wala na yung question from the audience here on site. Wala na. So we have our trivia quiz. So the first, ready atong microphone. So the first question is, so we would like to ask the one who would like to answer to come here and have the answer through our microphone. So the price of this will be our 𝗂𝗂𝗶 cake of the month. It's a cake made of coffee and chocolate and also so 𝗂𝗂𝗶 cake inspired of our heroes who made 𝗂𝗂𝗶 efforts to to in this history month, and we remember them during this history month. So this is a very easy question, and this is for those who listen to the discussion especially by Dr. Erlinda, and also maybe if you listen to also to Carla, you would answer that. We only have 2 questions. So the first question is for the on-site audience. So this is especially for you because you are here. You made effort to really come here. Apil ng mga reactors pa wa mo kanang di mo appeal sa mo appeal sa answer. Ang mga first honor ni mga honor circle, kung walay laing maka-answer pwede ka mo. Pwede mo. So kamo may last one. You actually have also gift certificate from Pamgrass, free hilot sa Alima Native Massage. And do you know that our Mabaylanes at our Alima Native Massage also gives a poem, an orasyon before and after your hilot. And I drafted it and I asked Adonis for collaboration to finalize. We really studied the chants of the Babaylanes in their ritual pots, in the pot shards, in the Surat Binisaya of Dr. Orlando Burnaga. We studied the form of their prayer. It starts with a question. Pasa na ba? Maging ano ba? So you get, so all the reactors get a free orasyon and free hilot. So give chance to others. so so daghan kaayo ni ang possible answers of this question. So the one who would like to answer, raise your hand, and then you go to the microphone to give your answer. Cake of the month, makapukaw. Nahatag na to, napakita na to ang itsura sa cake. So lami ni siya nga cake. It's a moist cake. So we have name one genre of poetry in the Visayas during the Spanish period. Na may poetry. Wala dito na pa to. Oh. Oh. During the Spanish period. So, sige, natoy na mention ba ya? Spanish period. Sige, kisa may ganahan mo answer na may sige, what's your name? So, ari diri sa kuan. So we have si Rodora ni, Rodora, nag-notes ka? Oh, she will still look at her notes. She took notes and then she still has to get her notes. Kisa may uban diri nga hinumdum sa answer. So tanaw na to ang kuan B, ang mga online audience of naa ba sila answer? Walay answer ang online audience. Poem, genre man og poetry. Change na to di nga question kay lisod kayo. Type of poetry. What is one type of poetry during the Spanish period? So, do you have an answer? So, sige, see, from Ateneo, coach, what's imong subject? What's please, patay, kinahanglan yun di ma-correct. Na-pressure na si teacher. Sige, there's a kuan, saman. Diri. So we have, what's your name? Yeah. Yes. Congratulations! My good nga teacher da kay maminaw gyud. So ang teachers kay walay notes no. Walay notes from memory to. Nag-notes ka ganina. Wala no. Congratulations, grabe my kay memory gyud. Naminaw gyud kag Dr. Erlinda gyud. So congratulations to teacher Larvi. Congratulations. You win this very delectable makapukaw with coffee and chocolate. So, 𝗏𝗏𝗏 also says balitaw. So, the next question is for everyone on-site and online, but you will answer through the comment section. Do you have Wi-Fi now? Do you have an internet? So, if you answer this, you will win a hulong kawa, kawa bath with flowers, or you will become buwak hulong kawa, or you will become a tinua. We have a tinola hulong kawa with ginger, sea salt, and you still get an orasyon, a poem during before your kawa bath. Flower buwak kawa bath, or you can exchange. Pwede sad kawa bath ila or hilot. Hilot no, you want kawa. Yeah, an Instagrammable na nga kawa. How to unsaon paglata sa balak. Inday-inday ba ang kayo? Inday-inday sa balak ni Joanna ni Hana. So, di ko sure sakto ni akong question ha. So you can answer actually either from the discussion of Dr. Erlinda, or you can answer through what I shared. So name the type of poetry in precolonial Visayas where the man and the woman would have an exchange of poems about love. Na ako i-discuss, pero pwede sad katong i-discuss ni Dr. Erlinda. So name a type, isod kaya, name a type of poetry in precolonial Visayas where the man and the woman have an exchange of poems and the theme is about love. Naato sa notes ni Rodora? Si Rodora, naka-notes ba? Ha? Katag ang notes. So, pwede ra, bisag wrong spelling, basta it sounds like oral man eh. Oral tradition. So, what is this poetry? The type of poetry in pre-colonial Visayas, where there is an exchange of poems from between a man and a woman, and it is about love. It could be also accompanied by string instruments like korlong and 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. Wala na nato i-discuss di ay. This is discussed in Kaskas in the pre-colonial to modern string instruments in the Visaya. So, wala yung maka-answer ani? Sige, kinsa man we will have the sa DYRF. Ikaw, answer ka kuan. Di ka ganahan mahulom sa kawa. Dili siya ganahan. So, kinsa may ganahan mo answer? Wala no? Wala na? Ako na lang maghulom ali sa kawa. Kamo diya, wala na mag-coaching ta ani. Unsa man? Si Malou. So naa kay answer diha Malou? Unsa man? Bisag unsa ra. So, who wants to answer? Sa online. Pwede ra online? Online man ba answeran? So you will answer through the comment section of this Facebook live event. Na-answer na mo? Ni-answer na mo? Wala ni-answer na, ni-answer diha. Wala ni-answer. Lisod kaayo. Wala na tao. Gamay na lang ang nasa online. So, as you are thinking about your answer, you would like to have Carla to have her closing. So, yeah, butang lang ninyo inyong answer. So, we will have Carla to give her closing words. I-remove na lang tong kuan. Sige. So, we have, and then we will also have Dr. Erlinda. Sige. Sige. Sige, Carla.
Hello, ma'am. Ma'am, mubasa lang ko balak namo ni Ma'am Linda for my parting words na ako'y slide diri pwede lang nako ma-present. ang first. Yeah, ang parting words ako na lang ihatag kay Ma'am Linda.
So mabasa siya
Mubasa
Balak.
ko balak palihog sa katong first nga slide gani please sa atong technical guy diha or girl kinsa ba. While we're doing it, magpasalamat lang ko sa akong mga kauban sa Wila, si Ma'am Des, Ma'am Malou, and Ma'am Hana. Madamo gid nga salamat sa pag-react. Very inspiring ang inyong mga gipangsulti. O pasalamat pud ko sa akong mga mentors. Usa diha si Ma'am Linda, si Ma'am Hope, ug ang akong literary mother gyud nga made me realize na makasulat day ko kay si Sir John Erimil Chidoro. So, salamat. And salamat sa palm grass sa higayon. So, as parting words, magbasa lang ko balak na ni Ma'am Linda. Kung naabay slide or wala. Pwede ba nato ma-project? Okay. Wala. Dara. Ang akong paborito nga balak ni Ma'am Linda maone, patay na tuod si Maria Clara ni Linda Alburo. Katubang ng luspad nga hinigugma sa linuiban nga si Crisóstomo Ibarra. Matud pa ni Mama, kadto siya sulundon, magsigig kablit sa arpa, manggiulawon, laming mutimplag hamunada. Hinayon, muamin kada humag nobena. Matinahuron o unsa padihang uban nga mga un-un. Nga karon isod na natong ispilingon. Wala na tingali na hibilin rong arpa, ug lahbihan kamahal maglutog hamonada. Ug unsa to, kalaay baanang magsigig nobena. Kinsalay gustong santuson kay atong paantuson. Ang kinahanglan sa babayi karon, maalam mulalik sa awit nga iyang tukaron. Maabtik mangitag idalit nga sudanon. Mulihok bisag wala pay bendisyon. Kung naa pa ron si Mama, unsa kahay iyang ikasulti nga labaw pa na anhing kaniya si Maria Clara Mirisi. Mauna di Linda Alburo, usa sa mga balak ni Ma'am Linda.
Daghang salamat.
Oh.
Daghang salamat to Carla for reading to us this beautiful poem. Patay na si Romeo.
And ang last kay nagsuwat sad ko balak kay na-inspire ko sa balak ni Ma'am Linda. So tinuod ang giingon ni Ma'am Des nga mag-collaborate jud ning mga writers aron makaproduce mi og mga works. So kani ang ako nga balak nga na-inspire sa balak ni Ma'am Linda. Alang kang Juliet, susday, katong nikatkat og naghuwat sa balkon, hinungdong pa ka sa iyang mga hunghong. Ikaw kuno ang adlaw sa kalibutan. Unsa pa ganito? Bisan hutdon pa niya og ihap ang mga bituon. Basta masudong ka lang. Bahala na, bisan manglagong pa siya sa mga pinaakan sa lamok, kay makapaambungan man ang imo mga halok. Bahala na, bisan masakit pa siya sa katugnaw sa tunog. Kay mainit bitaw ang imong gakos, wa ka nagduha-duha, nga talikdan ang kalibutan. Kay nituo ka, Juliet, nga iyaha ang langit. Sus, day, wa ka kahibaw, patay na si Romeo. Daghang salamat, Pangras, Ma'am Christy, magdaghang salamat.
So, daghang salamat. So, nakoy audio. So, daghang salamat, Carla. So, maayong buntag dinha sa France. So, buntag dinha, maayong hapon diri, hapit na mo gabi. So, daghang salamat, Carla, for joining us and also for giving us the pleasure of your poetry and your insights on the Inday poetry of Jonah. So daghang salamat, and you have also a gift certificate from Palmgrass when you come back to Cebu. So now we have Dr. Erlinda Alburo to give us her closing words for this event. So we already have an answer from our online audience. So we have the correct answer is the correct answer is, Balak. So this is the version of Father Francisco Alcina, and he mentioned Bicol as that also a debate between a man and a woman, but not about love. It's ridiculing one another. But they would forget about it after that. They would just have a competition who is the best, the wittiest, and the one who could trounce on the opponent. Impromptu, and these are all impromptu. And about love is Balak, but according to Father Francisco Alcina, they all speak about evil things. So maybe it's about sexual innuendos. so we have, daghang salamat to Carla. According to Ferdi Aparticio, congratulations to Sean Julius Lastimosa. You get free kawa bath. You can be a tinua kawa bath. Daghan man nga kawa bath na ay hilbas kawa bath. It's an herb kawa bath. You can, if you want to have flower kawa bath, pwede ra sad. Wa ba tay gender stratification sa kawa, sa flowers. So if you want to have, is Sean here? Ay, congratulations to Sean. So if you want whatever kawa bath you want, like tinula, tinua, hilbas, or flower, milk bath, there's also a milk bath. So now we have the closing words from our resource person, Dr. Erlinda Alburo.
Closing should be very brief because we're getting late already. I'd like to thank, of course, 𝗂𝗏𝗄𝗃 Hotel for hosting this event, and it's very good to know that they are still, at it from when did you start? I don't know, but for years already. They have never run out of topics, no, on Visayan culture and arts, history, and I only wish I had more time to come. Sometimes sa online na lang, no. But we're talking about women in poetry and the poetry about women, and we have seen how. But there was a gap though during the in the history, because I was only asked until American period, but between American and now you have this about 40 years where women were still marginalized, and although they contributed to Visayan, all that, but it was not sustained, no. So you would get a name, it will come out only, say, twice or three times, and then no more. So it's good to have an organization that will sustain itself, no. And I think today our women writers not just have dared to deal with topics that were off or taboo to them, no, like even sex, but they have also experimented in the forms, which is important, no. For example, 𝗲𝗏 has a number of concrete poems, which I tried, and Cindy also has, and then we have the prose poems of Esther Tapia and Hannah also, no. And then we have the haiku. The queen of Cebuano haiku is Gingging Dumdum in English. And yes, so we have come a long way, and we still look forward to more writing by women, not necessarily by 𝗲𝗏 people, but it's difficult to have these works, disseminated, because it costs to publish. So we have a hard time sometimes looking for funding. And one of our projects, I think, has been running for 5 or 6 years already, and only recently were we assured of publication. And right now we have actually two projects that will hopefully be launched within this year. One is a collection of children's stories, which are illustrated, and we think this is important, no? Not only so our children who are used to entertaining themselves with the cell phone, that to go back to our stories, which they have local color and local values, no. The other one is very timely. It's because it's a collection of contemporary what you call CNF, creative nonfiction, which is not really fiction, but essay, but based on real experience. And the theme is disaster, no? And covering Odette and Haiyan and other disasters, because that is a very like great concern here. But with all this, we go back to why? Why are there poets? Why do people read poetry in this age where science and technology seem to be, you know, more important? But they really only deal with the the things that you see and the things that you materially experience. But what about the spirit? What about the soul? What keeps us alive? What keeps us dreaming? What makes us happy? No, these are things that cannot be bought, and the things that we you know very well what I mean. I asked unsa ganito pag kung pagkanon ang kalag in one of my poems. Why is it that people still go about this way when all the literature, all the sermons of the priest, your parents' admonitions, they deal with, you know, cultivate your soul and don't forget, no, these ethical values. Why do people still insist on corruption and all these things? So poetry is important then because it reminds us, no, about our lives and where are we going, and even and they also the poets record experiences of this particular age where they are in, so that the future may know what we were. And yeah, and proceed. So thank you very much for listening to us, and we hope that we have sparked some interest in the audience, both here and online. Good evening. Evening na.
Daghang salamat to Dr. Erlinda Alburo for sharing with us her insights and her knowledge and her wisdom about poetry. Thank you very much to everyone for tracing with us the Babaye sa Balak from pre-colonial times until the modern times. Be with us again. So tonight we have 𝗲𝗏𝗄𝗂𝗶 in Hardin Dagami from 9 p.m. for his live performance. And we will also have on September 9, we will have our event Naughan and the Lost Rivers in Cebu City during the Spanish time, Cebu City. And also on September 22, we will have the Search for Warrior Dagami 2023, and also the anniversary of Hardin Dagami, where we will also discuss the pre-colonial warfare in the Visayas and also of the indigenous peoples in Mindanao. Daghang salamat our partners, 𝗃𝗿𝗃 Foundation Incorporated, Central Visayas, Association of Museums, Art Cebu, the Yandi Heritage Center, SOAN 2020. And we would like to show you this poem by Pam Grass that actually describes our Galeria Independencia. Ayaw kalain, konsultihan tika. Daghang salamat o mayong hapon natong, may gabi ka natong tanan.
Ayaw kalain konsultihan tika, nga para nako, gahi kaayo ka, sa makabagsik o kagahi sa Galeria Independencia. Murag, hardwood man tingali ka, nga sa imong ka-hard, wa man gyud ko nimo tagda. Maong ang sarok sa asawa ni Humabon, buot na nakong sulubon. Tiaw mo ni atong 1521, si Juana di ay ang pinakagwapa. Sigun kini sa pananaw sa langyaw nga si Pigafetta. Bisang nataliwadan pa siya taples nga mga dalaga. Ayaw kalain konsultihan tika, nga galaom kung muhumok pud unta ka. Aba naglibog ko kung unsaon pagpasoft sa hard ni mong heart. Ako
ka bang daron? Ihumol sa tunaan? Isud sa lusong og lubkon sa alo? Ialig-ig sa nigo? Dayon galingon kuyog sa mais? Lungagon sa kun? Latan pag-ayo? Ayaw kalain konsultihan ti ka. Nga nagduda kong dili lang gahi, apan butasab ka. Imo ra yung gisnabang akong feelings, nga daw nag-awas-awas nga tubig sa banga. Nagpasad sama sa bulawan ug uban pa. Nga gibarter kani atong panahon ni humabon, kuyog ang puno sa tato nga mga subuanon. Ayaw kalain konsultihan ti ka, nga gahi, buta, ug bungol pagyud ka. Kay wa gyud nimo mapaminaw nga sa matang magtagbo ta, kining dughan ko daw tambol o akong magbuto-buto. Mubagting sama sa tililing sa brass master sa South Cotabato. Mukas ka sama sa kwerda sa higalo nga gikitiw-kitiw sa ampik nga mga pudlo. Mutyabaw sama sa kubing nga gitayhok, gihagkan sa ngapil nga nagkibot-kibot. Ayaw kalain konsultihan ti ka. Di lang kagahi, buta o bungol, apan baga pagyud ka. Kaysa dihang wadam nga ang akong kamot, imong dahikapan, murag din malang gihapon ka. Apan dinhin ako, ang imong accidental touch, murag miukiok sa akong espiritu, daw gihablon nga tinalak sa Lake Cebu. O pisyabit sa isla sa Sulu, murabag, imo kong nasyat sa taro. Ayaw kalain konsultihan ti ka, nga di lang kagahi, buta, bungol, baga. Duda ko, sama sa simod sa iring, bugnaw kaayo ka. Sa imong kabugnaw, cool kaayo ka kusniton. Tungod wara gyud para nimo. Gabisag na ako, gapa-sweet-sweet yung ka sa imong amiga. Intawon kahapdos sa akong dugan. Murag dami sa eskrimador gibunal-bunalan. Daw gitusok-tusok sa pangkaw nila pulapo. Gitigba sa hait nga pinuti sa katipunero. Gipikas-pikas sa kres ni Leon Kilat ug sa mga moro. Ayaw kalain konsultihan ti ka, nga taliwa sa imong pagkagahi, kabaga, ka-cold. How I wish nga kung dadunti ka sa atubangan sa mga bayaning revolusyonaryo, ang tanan mong mga apan kay ilupad kuyog sa mga apan-apan. Sama sa mga hero, hunk, ug syofo masad ka, maong sayang kung dili nimo maambuhan. It's your loss. Kung ang lami kung nga linutuan, dili nimo matilawan.
Bisagin sa nga babae, di ka ilisan kaya nga akong gugma, solid pa sa katipunan.
Sorry kaayo kung gisultihan ti ka. Unsa ka imo karon nga sulayan, nagamiton imong ka-bright, kautukan, abrihon imong mata, dunggan ug dugan, aron imo kong makuyugan. Subayon ta ang dalan padulong sa kagawasan, hangtod nga ang imong kasing-kasing musabay pagpitik ning akong dugan. Dayon mag-uban ta og hakop sa bulawanong ani, manglupad uban sa panon sa mga langgam. Likayan, biyaan ang tagkahi ug kapugnaw, gakson ang kahumok sa hangin, hakan ang kainit sa adlaw.